Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. Uh wow, it's kind of another darkish day and I got a little bit of cold coffee left. Damn.
Cold coffee?
Yeah. Old and cold. Yeah. Well, it is what
Excellent.
it is. If you got to drink your coffee, drink it when it's hot. Don't be like me and procrastinate by doing other things like work.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
mean, what am I thinking?
Right. It's foolish behavior right
It
there.
is. It is. We got a lot to talk about this week. It's wow. Wow. And the idiots keep on coming. Well, I don't think we'll ever be free of them. Kind of like our headline here. Who's the biggest pain in the ass? The Middle East or China? Yeah, it's a toss up.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is definitely a toss, especially when you look like even all the way back. You can go all the way back. How far you wanna go? Yeah.
Well,
Pretty much since
if we're
human
doing that,
history
the
that
Middle
we
East wins. So,
yes, since the dawn of human history, these 2 places have been a problem.
yeah. Well, China was a little bit more, stick to themselves. The Orientals are more, they don't care much for the outsiders. So a lot of the times they're just economically noisy, and I suppose that's
Mhm.
still true. But oh, China! Someone told them they were important. I don't know who
Yeah.
did that.
They got
It was probably I think it was Kissinger.
mm,
I think that's who I'd blame for it. Yeah, I said it.
yeah.
Okay. Most people, of course, probably have no idea who Kissinger is. So
He's still
there you go.
alive? I thought he didn't he die?
I think he was one of those immortal ones, isn't he?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, yeah. But of course, we got that to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, just a
There's
year ago, almost exactly a year ago,
oh yeah,
November 29th last year.
at the
That is
age of
mental.
175. What was it?
He was 100 years old on the button, it says.
Wow. On the button. Of course, we have Hollywood. I don't know what we're up to. I can't use the word doubling down. Are we decadehedron doubling down? I don't know. But it's pretty high number with a whole bunch of stuff. Once again, the creator of Indiana Jones movie. I can't even remember the name of it. Did anyone watch that? Oh no, no one did. Is the he found the problem. Would you like to guess what the problem was? Why his amazing Indiana Jones movie failed? Would you like to guess?
Let's see, what is it?
Well, you know.
Is it white men again? Did we do it
Well,
again?
effectively, the
Yeah,
fans.
that's right. Yeah, we did it
Yeah,
again, boys.
we did it again. We're bad, right? Of course, you also got stuff with the mainstream media still being, fake news. What was it? ABC did an interview with Trump, and all that lady wanted to do was to get him to say he's going after his adversaries. Of course, Trump's way smarter than you are, lady.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he didn't in
No,
that
he's
interview.
100% in control in that interview. It was actually nice to
Yeah,
see.
it was
I mean,
very good. The parts of it I didn't see the whole thing, but the parts of it I saw was really good.
oh,
Like,
he was calm, he
yep, he didn't
was
raise his voice.
decisive. Yeah.
He didn't call their names.
No,
He just
we,
just just said yes or no, and then said what he wanted to do. He was
yeah,
very on point, and
he
that's good.
was.
That's the Trump
Yeah,
we need. We don't
it is.
as much fun as the braggadocious, bombastic Trump is, and he is fun. Right now, the world needs Trump.
Yeah.
They need him to be at his best, and I think he knows it. I think he gets it. So that's what he's trying to be, is at his best.
Yeah. And I think he's more focused than he's ever been. I
Yep.
mean, that first 4 years, he did put his best foot forward, but as we've seen in interviews of Joe Rogan particularly, he made mistakes. He went in naive, and we know why he decided to run for president. It wasn't initially because he wanted to help the country, not, and I'm sure he was pissed with what was going on, but it was because Barack Obama insulted him at a dinner.
Yep.
That's what really caused it, and he got in, and he did try to get some stuff done, and he did get some stuff done because he's just a good businessman. He
Mhm.
just knows how to do that. But this time around, you're dealing with a very different Trump. Trump this time is the statesman. He is coming in as president. It's very different because he didn't have to run again, right? He could have just let it
Right.
be because they cheated him in 2020, and he could have just let it go. But no, because he's just a different Trump, right? It's a different
Yep.
dude, and of course they tried to kill him on several occasions.
Yep.
That might have motivated him a little bit. Don't
A
don't make
tad.
a martyr, boys. Making
A
martyrs is a
tad.
bad idea.
Martyrs are very powerful symbols.
Oh yeah,
Um, you don't want one of them in this climate if you're the establishment. The
no.
last thing you need is a rallying force like a martyr. And they've tried their damnedest to make one, it seems, whether they realize what they're doing or not. I actually don't think. See, one of the problems you have with the so-called dissidents, whether the left or the right,
Uh-huh.
is a lot of them fall into this mental trap thinking these people are all powerful and they can't screw up, they can't be stopped. That's just not true.
Oh, of
They're
course, it's
people,
nonsense. Yeah,
they're human beings, and they screw up. And I think
yeah,
one of the biggest screw ups they did was the internet. I think they let the
yeah.
genie out of the
I
bottle
agree.
and they just can't put it back in now and they don't know what to do. They keep trying and then some crazy autist billionaire buys up, Twitter and opens it right back up. Uh, they have
Yeah,
and Bitcoin and all these other things that are financially liberating to people who normally would never get anywhere near that level of wealth. Uh, these are good things. These are
yeah.
good things overall for the freedom of humanity because humanity needs to be able to be abrasive. It needs to be
Free.
able to buck the system. Yeah, that's what freedom is.
Yeah.
The outlaw empire, which is what I'm calling America now, the outlaw empire was built by literal outlaws. The people who first came here were not sent. They did not come here of their own volition, like we like to pretend. They got kicked the hell out. The people were tired of dealing with them. Said, "You go over here. We don't want nothing to do with you."
Yep.
Now, some of them later did come of their own volition, but at the
Well,
beginning, it was pretty
much
much get the
later.
hell out.
Yeah, much
Yes, get
later.
the hell out. So this is the outlaw empire. It's the only one that I know of to ever exist. Definitely at this level. And you could make the same case for Rome too, but that's a different argument. Uh,
It is very similar progression
very
though.
similar. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it is very similar. But regardless, the outlaw empire is here, and we have to. We if we want human liberty to be a thing, which I think most of us do in America, especially, we have to be able to express ourselves and say mean things. You just have to. There's no other way around it. You can't live in a cookie cutter society where you're only allowed to say certain things and then expect to be free. That's not how it works. In order to be free, you have to be able to offend people. You have to be able to be hateful. I know. Chester, not the naughty hate words. Yep,
Yes.
got to be able to say those. Got to be able to do it. Because the naughty hate words, you know this, but I don't need to tell you. I'm going to tell the audience. They change.
They do.
Sometimes this word. There was a time when mob calling a group of people a mob was a hateful thing. It was very dishonorable to be part of a
Rome
mob.
popped up again.
Yeah,
Uh-oh. I feel like this.
exactly. So my point is, these words change. They grow. Like you mentioned it last week. Tyranny. Tyranny now is a completely negative thing. But
It
when it
is.
came about, it wasn't. It was just that was just their system of government. It was what it was. But now we think of tyranny and we think of full on oppression and boot on the neck and the whole deal. Um, these words and what they mean change over time. They have different connotations. So to say that we're going to ban this list of words, whatever they are, they're gone now. You can't say those or else you're a bad, evil person. Okay, well, what happens when the list gets bigger? We just keep going? There's no brakes on the train? None? Because then what happens, here's what happens. It's already happening all over. You see it in the UK right now. People get in power who want to use this ability to stifle opposition, to stifle the ability for somebody to resist whatever nonsense they want to do that you don't get to now because that's hate speech. You say that's anti-government rhetoric. You see, Chester, anti-government rhetoric. Oh boy, they would not like me. It's a good thing I'm American because oh boy, I'd be under the jail at this point in
Yeah,
the UK.
that's true. Yeah, the UK has lost its way, but we go back to their proud lauding of the Magna Carta,
Hmm.
and of course the fact that Prince John burned it.
Yeah. Oops.
So I guess it came in and it didn't really come in whole form, did it, guys?
No.
Speaking of Roman insults, would you like to hear one?
Let's hear one.
Flagitium omnis.
What's that mean?
Disgraceful pig man. Yeah. So
Why's everybody always shitting on pigs, man? The pig is a noble creature.
here's another
Yeah,
one.
it wallows in its own filth a
It's
little bit, but
tasty
so do
too. It's
humans.
tasty too.
Yeah.
Fry that up. It's real good.
Mhm.
Demons. Crazy
De-
bitch.
oh, that's where demented comes from. I
It
see. I'm with
is.
you.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
glad.
with you.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But yeah, ancient Roman with Chester Day. But
Oh,
it's funny you
I
mentioned that
used
though,
to.
because I'm not going to let you get away with it. You know that, right? Because well, no, the similarity between America and Rome is shocking, actually,
It is. It's
right?
crazy.
And I
Yeah.
won't go through the entire history. I know. I hear you. Okay. But there was basically down in that little southern area that became famous for, Sparta, and
Mhm.
Leonidas and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. They basically had your military wing, which is gaining power. It's like a military coup, and all the smart people. They had a little bit of a battle, but, smart guys aren't going to beat the military guys. We all know this
No.
from high school, guys.
Yep. Jocks win.
The jocks
Accept
win,
it.
accept it. But all those smart guys just said fine, and they took their shit and the ball, and they left.
Mhm.
And of course, Sparta went on to be Sparta, an absolutely ultimate failure. But
Yes.
we do love that one little 300 battle, even though it wasn't 300. But it's still cool though,
It is
right?
cool.
It
Yeah.
is cool.
It
But
was still brave. Very brave of them.
no, it was amazing actual tactical victory that they had.
Yeah.
And it worked because it held up the Persians long enough for the Athenians to get off their ass.
Finally. Yeah.
Finally. But those guys, when they left, they went to a colony because keep in mind, the Hellenic League wasn't a country. It wasn't called Greece, right? It
Right.
was a league of these little city states that were leftovers from, because in Egyptian time, that whole Aegean area was like where the rich people had their summer houses. You
Yep.
see,
There was even
and
a Thebes.
there was, yeah.
Yep.
But of course, then we had Santorini volcano go off, which is one of the worst in human histories. Set us the whole planet into a dark age, as they tend to do. But
Yep.
when all the dust and the ash finally settled, of course, we had the emergence of the Hellenic League, the little baby trainers for the Phoenicians, right? But anyway, these Grecians, that's what they're called, went over to one of their colonies. We call it Sicily today,
Yep.
particularly the city of Syracuse. And they rented land from about these kind of weird Etruscans that were drunk all the time. Yeah, and they called it
Yeah.
Palladium. And then they got big enough and they said, "Ha, you stupid drunk Etruscans, we'll just take it now." And they did.
That's right.
Thus, the Roman Empire was born. It's
Yep.
very similar to what we did, because that fire water, boy, that eliminated the need for a lot of wars.
Yeah. Yeah. They're big fans of it. They liked it a lot. It
Yeah,
seemed.
yeah.
But a
So,
little bit too much, maybe.
so
maybe dial
rebels
back.
mixed with very smart people and alcohol.
Yep.
That's how you become America.
Yep. That's the formula.
That's the formula.
Oh, and shooting bears. Got to kill the bears.
You got to kill the
There's too many.
bears.
There was
There,
too many bears.
there were way,
Yeah.
way too many bears. Yeah,
Way too many
way
bears.
too many bears. But it's weird. I've never thought about that before. But the rise of Rome and or Palladium, and the rise of America are very similar, dude.
Yep.
They,
Outlaws.
it was serious because you even had the Hellenic League several times send over generals to try to deal with those noisy upstart Grecians, right?
Hmm.
And same thing happened to us,
Hmm.
right? And they actually kicked our ass in 1812. I don't know why they went home.
I still don't know. Does anybody know? Does
I don't
anybody have
know.
the answer?
I think
Why they
we're
were just like, we did enough. Oh, all right. See ya.
well.
Thanks. I guess.
Tambora went off in Indonesia,
Yeah.
and that's Santorini level. It was really bad. Maybe that was it. We're missing history in there, you know.
Yeah,
We're
it is
missing
weird.
history in there. We are.
It is weird how little is talked about that period, that early 1800s period.
Because we don't have
As
anything, dude.
it's just gone.
Yeah.
It's like it didn't even happen.
And of
We know
course,
some broad strokes stuff, but details are sparse, especially considering when you go back to the founding, we know basically everything. We
we
know
got a
all
lot.
kinds of
That's
stuff
true. We
about
got
that
tons
time.
of information. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in that period, also, especially in the 40s, 1840s, you had revolution everywhere on the planet, everywhere,
Yep.
right? And of course, the really bizarre thing, this is not TFT, but no, okay. I hear you. I hear you, chat. I hear you, chat. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to do a TFT. Fine, fine. I'll do it.
Just what he never wanted.
Goodness gracious. You know how these people are. Okay, I think that's the one I haven't used in so long. Yeah, there it is. Alrighty. There we go. Alright, so let me get my split screen back and here we go.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Haven't heard that one in a while, have you?
Has been a minute.
It has been a minute. But tinfoil hat time. Tinfoil talk, of course. I wasn't expecting on doing this day, therefore I have no visuals. But
No visuals.
interesting thing, if you look at that whole period in the 19th century, right? Not only is there Revolutionary War everywhere, you have
Mhm.
one side of the battles, the ones that are the antagonists, all wearing the identical uniform.
Yep.
We call it the Union uniform in America. But we were one of the last places it seemed to come to. But it's kind of weird, and we have a lot of little spattering of documents and information. It's a the 19th century is a mystery, guys. We don't know really what happened there. But when you go around, you take a look at all the things that were going on. It's all this situation where people are complaining about being overtaxed and not having representation
Mhm.
and having them make noise, and then some superior power standing up and say, "Be quiet, peasant," and thus war begins.
Yep.
And they're all wearing the same uniforms. You go all over the world, take a look, guys. You're going to see the so-called Union uniform everywhere,
Mhm.
right? Keep the man in mind, the camera was running around at that time. Right? We got
Mhm.
photographs, not just artistic rendering, although those are better. I don't know. What do you think about that? That's a little conspiracy theory that's been banging around for a while.
It is very, very peculiar. Like I said, we know so little, especially compared to just like 20, 30 years before this period. We know so much.
Yeah,
And yet, for some reason, in that weird early America era, especially, there's very little that we just know for fact. We have some
yeah,
like, we got letters and stuff people wrote, but it's so vague. Uh, and then you get further and further and further. Like I said, a lot of people don't even realize how I want to say hard, but hard is the wrong word. How arduous the conquest of the West was
oh my
for
God,
America,
yeah,
and it wasn't even so much that it was difficult in the way people would think. It was that it was like this long grind, and it
it
just
was.
took a while. It took them so long to finally break through because there were so many Indians and so much other problems they had to deal with, including, I don't know anybody who's listening. Once you get past that Mississippi, the weather goes crazy. You get tornadoes and you get big blizzards out of nowhere and you get
Yeah,
crazy windstorms that are just whipping through and the grass can cut you if it hits you, like crazy things happen out
yeah,
there. Fires just break out. Over here, we're pretty much chill. Every once in a while, we'll get something, but usually it's pretty chill over here. But once you
yeah,
get past that Mississippi, it starts to get crazy. And
yeah.
them Indians, were
Not
used
yeah.
to it. They'd been living out
Yeah,
there. They
true, and
understood it.
not to and of course, not to mention the rapey, homicidal Indians. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had the
Um,
Injuns everywhere. They're a
yeah,
problem.
they were a
But there,
problem.
but people don't even realize, like, just that period, that about 20, 30-year period where we conquered the West, as we called it, the, Manifest Destiny stuff. Uh, the battles that were fought between the U.S. military and these Indian nations were massive,
Spent late
massive
late 19th
battles.
century, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
just
Um,
gigantic.
because and of course the Americans were always incredibly outnumbered. But
Yes,
we just, I love
win.
how Hollywood always depicts the Indian on the horse with the rifle. We gave them
Yeah,
both those things.
that's right. That's correct. They didn't have them. They weren't here,
Yeah. But
and they still lost. So
yeah. But
I
I
will
have
tell you.
yeah, I have a feeling Tambora plays a big part in it. That Indonesian volcano, and of course we had another
Mm,
Indonesian volcano go off, Krakatoa. Do keep in mind the past couple of months, the Indonesian multiple, not just one, multiple Indonesian volcanoes are making themselves heard again. So
lovely,
yeah,
just what we
lovely.
need.
But yeah, I have a feeling it had a lot to do with that. Of course, I think it ties in a lot with the mud flood conspiracy guys, because there's
Mhm.
clearly something there. I mean, obviously, every time you see an archaeological site, they're digging underground. Why? Why are they meters underground? They should be, literally, like a foot maybe or a few inches, right?
Yep.
I mean, if we look at what the science tells us is the acclimation of soil through dust particles, on the wind. But so clearly there is something to the mud flood thing. But I think it's not so much a flood as it was rain. I
Yep.
think it was fallout from Tambora. And who knows what else is going on because that clearly was a chaotic period. It was during that time that the Tartarians fell. And, I know, oh, conspiracy theory. Not really, dude. I mean, when I was in school, we were taught this. I don't know why it's been removed from history. That's a mystery to me because when I was a kid, we were taught about the Tartarians. Of course, it's just the amalgamation of Genghis Khan's coup d'état attempt and the old Byzantine or Ottoman, well, later become called the Ottoman Empire. That's all it is, And of course, we know
Mhm.
that they took over China. Hello, right? They've been controlling China. They controlled China for very, very centuries and centuries and centuries, right? We know the
Right.
Chinese had complete maps going all the way down to frickin' California, right? Because
Mhm.
they were sending expeditions. So we have, once again, Columbus discovered America. Really? We have documentation from other countries, guys. We have the Scandinavians were over there. The Chinese were there. Even before that stuff, we have evidence, but they were there. Hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus, right? So yeah, but something happened. Something blew up real bad. There was, I think, that old Ottoman Empire, the Byzantines, if you prefer, were just crumbling, and they were just
Mhm.
long in the tooth and old. Kind of same thing had happened to Rome in a way, right? And
Yep.
they just got kind of, had little rebellions here and there they couldn't control, and it just collapsed. And then you had big old volcanoes going off, and who knows what other kind of nonsense. But we had these blue coat uniform people. You see these depictions of armies all over Europe, in Asia, and they're all dressed exactly the same as Union troops, marching about and putting down, the rabble.
Right.
So I don't know. You tell me what that is. Is that just a coincidence?
Probably not.
Yeah, I kind of don't believe in them things. But
Mhm.
we seem to be kind of late to the game. And of course, you also have the argument where a lot of the people say a lot of those cities in the West and buildings and stuff were Tartarian or Byzantine, or once again, we'll just stick with Byzantine because Tartaria upsets the officials for some reason.
Mhm.
But we'll just say the Byzantines were clearly in America. We have those buildings were clearly built by them. But when we started going in, We found them. That's why we use that word founded, by the way,
Mhm.
right? But and we were dealing with Indians. That's clearly documented by individual journals and stuff. So that clearly was going on, because the argument is all history is a lie. Well, a lot of it is at the top end. The meta is often a lie, but when you have journals from wagon trains and stuff like that, that's not fake history. That's not fake, right?
Mhm.
But what we found was, we got these old cities and buildings, some of them crumbling, and the Indians all over the place, and the Indians were not living in them. Now, why? Why would you choose to be an Indian running around the plain without horses? Oh, all of a sudden you start getting horses, but you're just kind of running around on foot, hunting buffaloes and barely surviving winters when there's frickin' buildings sitting right there, but you don't go in them.
Mhm.
Now, if you go talk to the Indians, which they never do, isn't that interesting? When they're trying to find Indian history, they never talk to the Indians.
Curious, isn't it?
Curious.
Almost like they
But you have
don't
to,
really want to know.
yeah, well, the
Mm.
Indians said that they were places of ghosts and plague. Hmm,
Hmm.
that's interesting.
Lovely.
Also, the Indians have records, oral record, just like most humans in history. You got to keep in mind this whole concept of news and newspapers. It's very Roman.
Yes.
Right? The many places in the world never had newspapers until the late 19th, early 20th century. Um, that wasn't a thing. It's not like they didn't communicate. It was just oral history, which is something humans have been doing for a long time. But they talk about when they first came into Americas, which if you go talk to the Indians, they came in 1500 years ago. If you go ask them, right? That's their history. They ran into all kind of hostiles they had to deal with, and of course, they even mention cities,
Yep.
which were places of ghost and plague. So even the early accounts, they're talking about cities being there, 1500 years ago during Roman time. It's interesting, right? But anyway, just an aside. But seeing as I am on TFT, I might as well cover a kind of TFT thing we have today. So let me go ahead and just do that, I guess. Why not?
Let's just do it, folks. Hang on, I gotta get over there. Where we at? Ba-ba-ba-da-da-da-da. Discord's being dumb.
Dave says he
Sarcophagus.
likes oral history. I apologize. Go ahead.
I do too. Sarcophagus of quote real Santa Claus found at St. Nicholas Church in Turkey. Well, that's curious that it would be exactly in the church named after him.
Yeah. No. First of all, this was
Wait
put
a
by
minute.
Ethereal Dragon. Thank you. And this is a recent article from just the day ago, right?
Yep. Yep.
So cool. Ethereal found this, but dude, it's literally called the Church of St. Nicholas. All the people in the area say this is where he was buried. His bones did move around a couple of times, but they ended up getting interred into this church, which was built for him. And we've been digging and doing archaeology at this site since I was a college boy. So this is really not new news. It's really, from
Slow
the
news day.
80s. This is 80s news for some
Slow
reason.
news day.
I guess.
Yep.
I guess. But they did made a kind of a new discovery of a new sarcophagus, and yeah, yeah. I guess they did testing, and it's age appropriate. They said. Anyway,
Yep.
this church has been a thing since I was a college boy. I remember reading a paper on it, right? Because everyone was so excited. But Saint Nicholas was a dude. Sounds like he was a pretty nice dude,
Yep.
right? Because a lot of times the saints we get are not very nice dudes.
No. No, they've got very good PR though.
They do.
Very good PR.
But this
Yep.
guy was kind of like a Mother Teresa type guy that was too big to cancel. you know.
Yeah.
He was just because he was just a generally good dude. I haven't heard anything negative about him. Mother Teresa gets a little clap about her, not liking contraceptions in Africa, which would help with AIDS, of course. But she's a Christian and all, so she's a pretty good lady,
Oops.
Mother Teresa. Let's not give her a hard time, even though she's Catholic. I mean,
Yeah.
hey Art, what's up, man? But yeah,
Oh.
I want Merry Christmas, dudes, and Merry Christmas to you directly, Art. I hope you're having a great time. But I really would like to set this record straight, okay?
Uh-oh. Setting
Because
the record straight.
read that tale again for me, because I can't bring myself to do it.
Sarcophagus of, quote, real Santa Claus, end quote, found at rather St. Nicholas Church in Turkey.
And that is not the
That's I
quote
mean,
marks, by the way. That's incorrect. Right, go ahead.
well, yes, but that's what they're trying to do.
Dario Radley. Okay.
That's what
Well,
they were going for,
that's
whether
what they
that's
were
what that
going
is or
for. Yeah,
not.
he just screwed it up. He screwed it up. He's probably from Turkey.
Well,
We'll
what's
get
funny
into
is
them later.
if you type into a lot of the AI bots, that is how it does quote marks
That's not
because it used
correct,
the
though.
I know, but it uses the double quotes just for like specific speech. Uh, I don't know why they have done that, but a lot of the AI bots have that
Oh, I
format. I
see.
don't
They're
know why.
delineating between concept and spoken word.
I'm assuming, yes.
I don't know. I might be okay with that. But
Yep.
anyway, that has nothing to do with the point. Here's the point. St. Nicholas, nice dude, but he is full on pure Catholic propaganda because
Correct.
that's Santa.
There he is.
Right
There he
there's
is.
Santa Claus. Okay.
Yeah.
He's also a little bit of that Merlin and a little bit of
Yep.
John D was part of that too. I get it. Yeah.
A little bit of
But
Gandalf.
this here is
Yeah,
Santa Claus, right?
that's right.
And that tradition amongst the Scandinavians, the Aryans, has been going on since, ooh, real deep. That's
That's right.
real deep. This,
Thousands of years.
yes,
Don't you think it's kind of weird how his tomb's in Turkey? Hmm.
yeah,
Why would it be in Turkey, guys? Think about it.
weird,
Just think about it for a second.
weird place for Santa Claus.
That's a
But
weird place for Santa.
yeah,
That's a
um,
strange one.
lots of cool traditions come from this. Of course, they continued the use of the Christmas tree, which there's a lot of evidence, strong evidence, that the Christmas tree actually comes from the Neanderthal, not even human.
It
Anyway,
makes sense.
it does. But they continued that tradition, of course. And what they would do is they would leave little wooden representations of gifts for Odin on a live tree outside the longhouse. They would make sure they'd always grow one, right? An evergreen, because it's always green, even in the death of winter. Figured that.
Yep.
But nevertheless, but as time went by and they started becoming more and more secular, as most peoples do, they started putting the little toys and stuff and letting the kids take them, right? But
That's
then
right.
the gifts became so heavy that they basically just put them under the tree. Yeah. You also had little things like, of course, eight tiny reindeer. Sleipnir has eight legs.
That's
And
correct.
the kids would, in their little shoes or stockings, would leave carrots and various things for Sleipnir to have a snack. You see, that's Odin's horse, by
Yep.
the way. And if Odin appreciated their gift, a little coin would be left in its place.
Yep.
Hmm,
A little bit of
interesting.
money.
Little bit
Bling.
of bling bling for the kiddies, right?
That's right.
But I mean, et cetera, et cetera. Most everything that has anything to do with Christmas is from the Aryans, the
Yes. We
Scandinavians, right?
even still call it Yuletide,
We do,
guys.
yeah.
That's literally what it's
All right,
called.
but it's also mixed a little bit with these Roman Saturnalia. To be fair,
Yeah. A little bit with
that's
the
where we get
lights.
the red from. Okay.
Yep.
Because everyone wore red at Saturnalia. Some little like we do green on St. Patrick's Day. They would wear
Now
some
over
kind of
here,
red.
Chester, they've put a bunch of blue in Christmas, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Blue ain't
Well,
Christmas.
that's more Scandinavian color. Yeah,
I
more
don't like it.
traditional.
I
But
don't like it.
nevertheless, we get the red from here. We also get our eggnog from here. We also get
Yep.
our kissing under the mistletoe from here. right? So Saturnalia, all the debauched stuff is from Saturnalia. And of course, keep in mind,
Right.
Saturnalia was just a big drunken orgy, really,
Like most Roman holidays,
like
yeah.
most Roman holidays. Matter of fact, the senators would show their contrition to the people by renting out all the prostitutes of the city for the day, free to the public. Yay! So I guess it's not a holiday for the prostitutes. Damn,
No, they got to work.
that's a
They
rough
got to get to
day.
work.
That's a
They
rough
got to
day.
they got to literally put their ass to work.
They literally do. That's a rough day. But so we got a little bit of that, and then we got a little bit of that. Which
Yeah, the baby Jeebus.
would anyone like to guess when that came into the concept of Yule? Anybody?
Ooh, I think I know this answer, but I'm not sure. I thought you were going to ask a different question. I was thinking about that. I don't know.
Well,
Tell us,
I
Chester.
shall tell
Elucidate
you, and you
us.
remember your thing you were thinking about, and you can mention in a minute.
I
Well,
will.
this little thing right here was brought in by a certain guy, pretty famous dude. You're probably going to recognize his name when I say it. And he was like, "Yeah, no, we're just not getting enough converts to the religion,
Hmm.
and we need to spice it up because all these people are just enjoying their Saturnalia Yuletide stuff." Right.
Yep.
Well, little dude, this is going back to, what, 1229? 12, something like that. So it is 13th century. It is pretty old, to be
Been a
fair.
while.
But his name was, Sir Francis of Assisi.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy,
Old
the
Saint
fame,
Frank.
the famous one. Everyone knows this guy.
Yep.
Yeah, right. He did that. It's one of his
Makes sense.
claims to fame by putting the
Makes sense.
manger scene. And
Well,
it's one of
especially considering what I was going to say is that it probably almost definitely happened in the early to mid spring, the birth of Christ,
oh,
according to
because
the
of the
biblical account.
census. The Bible's very
Yeah,
clear. He's going home
it's
for
very clear on when
Joseph's
this
going home
happened.
for a census, and those things happen in
Yeah.
springtime, right?
Well, not only that, where the star is and where the wise men see it, it doesn't
Sure.
make any sense for them to be going the way they're going. Also, the fact that the shepherds are out in the field with their sheep at night, even in the wintertime, it gets chilly at night in old Israel. I know I've been there. So they wouldn't have been out in the field at night with their sheep. The sheep would have been inside or corralled.
Of course.
Uh,
There's many good
yeah.
points with that. But I mean, now do keep in mind, since we're on TFT, another thing I never really understood was this: the Protestant Reformation, in the end, was a good thing. It was bloody as hell. It was
It
it
was.
was monstrous evil thing that went on during the Reformation. But in the end, you got a bunch of these very focused religious folk who not only believe the normal things a Christian believe, but they also believe you get into heaven by the sweat of your brow, right? Because
Right.
that mentioned in Genesis, right?
Hmm.
And they did give us the Industrial Revolution, so you got to give them some props, right? However, they were really anti-magic, which is weird to
Yes.
me because the Bible's full of it. And a matter of fact, they even honored the Magi, which is a Persian, Turkic, magical research wisdom school group, right? That's been around
Hmm.
forever. Why the four magi coming to visit the baby Jesus, right?
Yep.
So I never understood why the Protestants were like, anything magic, you must kill it. No, it says a witch shall not be tolerated to live, and witches are not good things. They are black magic. They covet and frolic and convert with the demons. You see,
Yep.
right?
The
But
betrayer.
yeah, but magic is, or if you want to call it white magic, if it makes you happy, has always been a thing that's been part of Christianity. So I never understood what that was. But, that's a tangent.
Yep.
Nevertheless, this little scene never existed until this guy right here, because actually most early imagery of Jesus in that regard was showing him inside a temple before this,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And of course, that's a little bit different,
hmm.
slight,
Well, you
slightly,
also
slightly
wouldn't
different.
you wouldn't have had like we have, especially in America. I don't know what they do in Europe, but here, when they do the manger scene, they have the wise men there and all this stuff. That's not even the biblical account says that. There's no way. By the time the wise men got there, he was probably closer to 2 years old. Jesus
or
was. He
more.
wasn't a he wasn't
Um,
right. He wasn't a
sure.
baby.
And of course, you do keep in mind that the Bible, as with many things, has two accounts. One is in a cave,
Yep.
that baby Jesus is born. The other one's in a manger. Of course, you get all kind of theologians to try to talk their way around that. But the
Say it's the
Bible
same
is,
thing. Yep.
yeah, the Bible is full of these double stories, which, if you understand the history of it, you understand why. But
Mhm.
of course, if you go look at the Gnostic stuff, they're more clear, right? You ever wonder
Yep.
why you don't really hear much about the Dead Sea Scrolls? I mean, you hear about their finding. Oh my God, one of the greatest discoveries in archaeology and human history. Okay. But they never talk about it. You ever
Well,
notice
it's
that?
because yeah, yeah. Well, some people will, but they don't talk about what's in them. They just say that they exist, therefore proof. I'm like, well, wait a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
What do they say?
Well, they're a little bit different. They're Gnostic, which honestly is much cooler. Sorry, Christians, but I mean, because they are Christians, to be honest with you, they're the original Christians, but they're just cooler. Their
Yep.
stories are and their ideas are way cooler, much more sophisticated. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, of course, in those Gnostic, stories, and it's not just the Dead Sea Scrolls; they were just confirming the existence of modern things that we already had, right?
Mhm.
In those, they talk about the life of Jesus completely, which the Bible, the
Mhm.
New Testament, doesn't really cover his life hardly at all,
No, just
right?
about 3.5 years of it,
Just
give or
very
take.
little, and most of it's
Yep.
talking about his time when he with the return, whatever that means, right?
Mhm.
And of course, if you look at each of the instances and every place he went, it's identical to Titus, Vespasian's son, conquest against the Jews in the Jewish revolt war,
Mhm.
which of course King Esus or King Jesus was part of. No, there's no correlation here, I'm sure. But but nevertheless, in the Gnostics, they do talk about Jesus, or Yeshua. And as a kid, and he was a little shit because he was
Yep.
learning to be a God in flesh form. But also, the Gnostic text, and one of the reasons why the Muslims really don't think he's God, the Son of God,
Mhm.
because he was a little shit. He killed somebody.
Mhm.
He did. Yeah, and he
Well, he
did. He
kills
he was
lots of people.
he gave the rabbis the hardest time because keep in mind he was
Well,
raised in here. Wait for it, Egypt.
that's correct.
Yeah, he was
That is,
trained
you
and
are
raised
correct,
in
sir.
Egypt. Yeah. And why are there rabbis in Egypt? That's a weird thing.
Well, depending on where he's at, it's not necessarily weird, especially at that time. But
That was sarcasm.
yes, he was probably. My throat is full of crap. You know how we were talking about magi's, right?
Yeah,
So there was a magi is basically like you said, like a mystic. Maybe even they may have even been Zoroastrian, like Ray. I think
I
Raytheon
think they
said in the chat.
definitely later they
Yeah,
they kind of molded and morphed into that. I think. Yeah.
yeah. Well, there's a very similar thing also happens with pretty much any kind of theological scholar, as long as they're not hostile to the ruling class of an area, or sometimes even if they are, in the case of the Jews, uh, they'll end up traveling about. They'll be around, but the main reason why they were over there is because that's where they came from. This idea that they all just left, that's just not true. Some of them were wealthy. Why would they leave? Just because the Pharaoh got mad? No, no. It's the biblical account is really well, it's a great story. It's a good story, but there's just very little evidence for it.
Yeah.
It's the way that it actually happened.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, my whole point is, and this has been my point for years when it comes to Christianity. I don't personally call myself a Christian. I just think that when it comes down to it, the teachings of Jesus Christ, whether he was a real person or not, is completely irrelevant because they're perfect. Nailed it. Done. Boom. Whoever wrote it, boom, nailed it. Because there's no like Pilate says when he's trying Jesus because the Jews demanded him to. I can find no fault in this man. I find no fault in the teachings of Jesus Christ. The morality, the ethics, even the
No, it's
spirituality. It's
good stuff.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But regardless of, and I said this to somebody recently, and a lot of Christians don't like hearing this, but it's just the truth. Is your faith strong enough in the teaching of Christ and therefore in Christ for none of it to be true? Meaning it's just all story. And
Right.
if your answer is no, then your faith isn't that strong.
Right. I mean, these stories are coming from ancient time, guys.
Yep.
And it's just wisdom is all it
Yes.
is. And it's good wisdom. There's a lot of good things there. I mean, when you
Yep.
get into the Old Testament and the kind of Sharia law, because that's what it is, right? It gets a little brutal. But it's just wisdom. It's the
It
old
is.
wisdom schools, right? The old magic schools and their
Well,
mysticism and stuff like that.
s- someone mentioned Zoroastrianism. It's very similar. Christianity is as far as the moral code.
Oh, sure.
And if you go further east, it doesn't much change. The big religions pretty much have the same moral code. There's some variants here or there, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's mostly just don't hurt people. Don't hurt
Yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah, and keep in
Um,
mind the Zoroastrians got their stuff from the Aryan,
yeah.
warlords that were pumping down through that gap into the Middle East. And of course, the modern day Zoroastrian, although you go ask a Persian, they would say we're not Muslim. Of course,
Hmm.
modern day Zoroastrianism, as it continue on, is now called Buddhism.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Basically, just
So
yeah, or not even basically, just morphed into
it
Buddhism.
is.
The I forgot what the ethics of Christ are enough. So people will go on and on and on till they're blue in the face whether God is real, whether this or that. Try to have all these arguments, all these logical arguments, and I just say, hey, does it work? If you believe in God or in something like a God, it happens all over the world. But let's just stick with this concept of God, and you believe in the teachings of Jesus when he says, love God and love your neighbor as yourself. He made it real simple. He made it real simple. 2 lines. Boom, boom. If you believe that works and builds a better society and gives you a better life,
Which it does.
then there you go.
Yeah.
God's real. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if he's physically real. The
Oh well.
spirit of him
Now
is real.
that's a different conversation. The
Yeah.
creator is a different conversation than some,
Well,
you know.
I mean Jesus himself. I equate the
I see,
same.
I
They're
see. That's fine. That's
divine
fine. That's fine.
Jesus, because when they, I say this all the time too, and a lot of Christians don't like hearing it because they believe that the 66 books of their Bible are all the word. Every period in it is the word of God, which is silliness.
Well, it's been
Um,
rewritten how many times?
when exactly that's what I say to them. I say, which one are we talking about? But the Gospel of John has is one of the only things that is unchanged largely across all interpretations of the Bible, even all the way back as far as we can go. And it's funny that it happens to be the Gospel of John because it was John who was said to be the leader of the Gnostics. I'm just gonna
Yep.
leave that alone.
Don't touch
But
it.
The Gospel of John opens with telling you that what the Word of God is, and the Word of God is Jesus Christ. That's what the Word of God is. So the Bible, I hate to tell you this, Christians, I know it's heresy to most Christians, is not the Word of God. It has the Word of God in it, but it is not the Word of God. It is simply a collection of the words of God. That is what it is. There's other parts to it that are left out that nobody disputes, by the way.
Yeah.
They just say it's not
Oh,
canon. Well, what does
there's
that mean? What does
dozens
that
and
mean?
dozens of books that were not put in.
Yeah.
And I do find it interesting at the Council of Nicaea that their final count they came out with was 66.
Yeah.
Those fuckers.
Curious that. Curious that. And then you have but then you have like the Orthodox, I think their number 73, I think is how many books is
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in their Bible.
There were
And then
many more. There were many
yeah,
more that were left out for various reasons. Because honestly, the Council of Nicaea is really where you got a lot of that, so-called patriarchy stuff came into the religion. At the end of
yes.
that, a lot of the things that we're talking about, there were books about women. Whew, how dare
Yep.
they even, right?
Even the Gospel of
Left
Mary,
out. Yep.
Mary Magdalene's book
Hmm.
allegedly that was allegedly written by her, that
We
was
have
left
it.
out.
We have it.
Yep.
Right. But no, that was
There's
left
even
out.
one
There's a whole
about
bunch of them.
even one supposedly written by Judas before he killed himself.
Well, now
Gospel of
keep
Judas.
in mind that most actual scholars believe that Judas is actually the brother of Jesus, his twin specifically.
Could be. It would make
Yeah,
a lot of sense why he gets so angry. He gets salty. Gets a little
he does.
perturbed.
He does. But
Because it's funny,
that is very mainstream.
somebody posted this thing that goes, so was Judas just like retarded? Think about it for a second. Even if Jesus isn't the son of God, you're still around this dude while he's doing some high level sorcery, and you're gonna betray him?
Well,
You're gonna betray
yeah, but that once again go back to the Gnostics, right? Now he's in the
him?
Gnostics. Mary Magdalene is Jesus's wife. She
Yes.
wasn't a prostitute. The
No.
the Nicaeans, the ones that made her a prostitute to degrade her, right?
Yep.
It was his wife, and of course, keep in mind he was a rabbi, right?
Hmm.
Jesus, rabbi, Yeshua, rabbi,
They call
and
him it all the time.
his sect down in old Egypt, right?
Yep.
That he was part of. Not only did they have wives, they had wives,
Yes.
right? But of course, he did have a wife in Mary Magdalene. And in the Gnostics, he talks to his brother Judas and says,
Hmm.
"I need you to be part of what's about to happen. I need you to go and be the one to betray me because you're the one I can
Yep.
trust to do it." It
Which he
says it
do,
in the Gnostics. It
which
says
he
it.
does say in the Bible too. In the regular he literally tells him what you're about to do, go do quickly.
But they
Uh,
twist it a little bit to,
but they twist it
make
as
it
if
seem
he was
independent.
full
Right.
betraying. Right.
Right. Right. Right.
I don't know. I know a lot. Again, this is another thing that me and Christians bump heads about. I've often argued that even Judas could have went to heaven, because it does, like, there's that interpretation of it where it was a plan. Jesus was
Mhm.
in on it, and he's like, "Yeah, go do it." But there's also the fact that he was clearly very remorseful. And if the message of the Bible is that anybody can be forgiven, no matter
Then
what
it's
evil they've
Judas.
done,
Yeah.
then Judas should be able to be forgiven too. Paul, the Apostle Paul, everybody's favorite apostle, right? Everybody loves Paul except me. Everybody else loves Paul. He was a murderer. He was a wanton murderer. He was a brutal murderer.
You mean
He
that
took great
Roman
joy.
tax collector Saul, who became
Yeah,
Paul and was blinded on the
yeah,
road? That guy? No,
yeah, yeah. He liked to kill Christians. He was a big fan
he
of it.
was he
And
was a bastard.
allegedly,
Yeah.
he was redeemed by Jesus Christ himself, according to him.
Well, according to him.
That's
Yeah.
curious. Yeah.
According to
But my
him.
point is, the message is, and nobody is beyond redemption. If you ask it and you mean it, God will forgive you for it. And
Mhm.
why couldn't that have been Judas? Why
Yeah.
not? Why
But
not?
why not? But just to finish up our little TFT theme here with talking about the manger scene, and of course Saint Nicholas is as Santa Claus. And of course is where they get the name, right?
Yep.
But do keep in mind, we have a straight accounting of things, right?
Hmm.
And the Gnostics and other things that are not even connected to Christianity itself, just other writings, right?
Hmm.
But basically, the way it's laid out, and of course, with the Quran and the Muslims, they get a lot from the Gnostics. Keep in mind the Muslims were originally Christians in Damascus, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. Just be
Yep.
patient.
That's
Uh,
why we're
but
on
uh,
this.
but they were a type of Christian that didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. He was a great
Yes.
holy prophet, because they were Gnostics.
And the Savior. They still believe he's the
They
Savior.
still
They just
believe, yeah,
don't
he
believe
was a
he's
good
God.
dude.
Yep.
But you got to keep in mind of the separation of the Mistrins and the Catholics, right?
Yep.
The Mistrins continued on; they're Gnostics, right? They continued on in the East Orthodox Church, which of course would filter down into the Persians and all those other things, right? They're
Yep.
and into Syria and the Middle East. They're coming off the Gnostic take, not the Catholic take, right? The Council of Nicaea, right?
Hmm.
And of course, Constantine must have been a little pissed off of that because he's a Mistran, right? But he
Yep.
was like, oh well, we got to get it done because he was more about matters of state and tax collecting, after all. Being a good emperor, you got to collect them taxes. But here's the way they lay it out. Joseph had to go back to his hometown for the census, right? Because they're under Roman occupation, right? And he has
Hmm.
to go back for his census. He's a rich, successful dude. And of
Yep.
course, he's got his young wife, whether she was immaculately conceived or not, but whatever, he's got his young wife with him. And she goes into labor. He pulls the donkey over, and gets out into a little cave there on the side. Matter of fact, there's many caves along that route that are claimed to be the cave. It's kind of like here down south of me. There's a town that makes chicken nanban, which is one of the best dishes you'll ever eat. They all claim to
Mm.
be the originator, of course, but nevertheless, and he delivers the baby himself. But he's concerned about wild dogs. Have you ever heard about the wild dog story? Interesting. That's been completely
Mm.
left out of the narrative. And he puts this woman who just had a baby on a damn donkey in the middle of the night and trudges on and then tries to get a room because she just had a baby. And the guy's like, dude, I'm full up. And therefore he says, well, we'll just bed in the barn, which is what he did. And then he continues on. And this is where you get all the art we get from that period, especially coming into the Constantine era, which is around 370, right?
Right.
Where you get all this imagery of the baby Jesus, but it's showing him at his christening or a type of christening in a temple. And the wise men are in that. So the original manger scene wasn't a manger at all. It was in a temple with a bunch of officials, with this little kid of a stonemason. He's not a carpenter, by the way. It's stonemason. Mistranslation. Go figure. Nevertheless, but really, a stonemason, just a simple working guy. Maybe he's a successful businessman. Why has he got all these freaking officials all around him? Interesting.
Right.
That is he a stonemason or is he just a mason?
Uh-oh.
Mm.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
But of course, and this child was taken down into the high ranks of the Egyptians, and if you look at his story, that's a rich kid. That ain't that ain't no son of a stonemason. That's a rich kid, right? But that's the original thing. And what Sir Francis of Assisi wanted to do, and he admits this, by the way, was, at that time, Christianity was starting, the Catholic faith was really only accounting itself to the nobles and the rich people because they would
Mm.
donate money, which the church desperately needed, of course, during this is Crusade era, right?
Right.
And they basically had a thing that the church put in place to make money. Was well, if you donate money, will absolve you of all your sins, all your
Yeah.
whoring and drinking and murdering and all that kind of stuff. So Catholicism had become mostly a religion of the rich. Which was quite the opposite of how it had started, right? Because Constantine used the fact that it was the religion of the common man. And of course, that's what Vespasian was trying to do anyway, right, with
Mhm.
Josephus, to get the common man to rise up against the Hebrew, right? But it had started reverting back to the religion of the rich, and he wanted to find ways to bring it back to the common man to connect them to it. And that's why he put the baby Jesus in a manger, right? So,
Yep.
point is to end this TFT. That's Jesus.
Well, that's Santa.
I'm just going to leave it there. Because if you look at
Uh,
his story, he has a lot of Jesus motifs. And of course,
Good
if we go back
old
even
Woden.
further, we have Horus, the
Ye-
son of Osiris. Similar
Woden.
story. Did you know there was a little dude named Buddha? They call him Buddha. I can't remember
Mhm.
his real name offhand. But there was a guy, this Buddha guy. Did you know that he walked on the Ganges, walked on water? Did you know that?
Oh.
Did you know he took a basket of fish and bread, naan, I'm assuming, and was able to feed a huge mass of people? Did you know that this Buddha guy came across a person lamenting because he's a prince, he's a royal guy, right? He's a high level guy, this Buddha guy, and
Mhm.
lamenting the death, and you came too late, and he spoke, and the guy stood up and walked out of the grave. Did you know that? Did you know that he went to a man who was accusing him? And one of his followers cut his ear off with a sword, and he went and glued it back on with his god magic, etc., etc., etc. Every story you've ever heard about Yeshua can also be attributed to a guy named Buddha, a guy named Horus, a guy named Odin. Actually, Odin Nuada, who is probably the oldest version of this character we have, to be honest with you. These are much older and much more detailed stories we have, right? Because
Yes.
not only did Odin do all of those things, he also traveled to other realms and sacrificed eyes for wisdom to the greater gods. And well, I know I just say greater gods, but you got to study a little bit. And when I say he's Jesus, I'm not joking. His
Yep.
story is very similar. But then again,
Yep.
this story has been going on much longer than we have records of. Where did it start? Who started it? No clue. This is the problem with the Aryans, you see, or
Mhm.
because there are more than one type of white people, right? There's not just the whites, idiots.
That's just
Um,
blasphemy.
but whatever. But the Aryans are a specific type. Many historians think that they are the kind of a leftover legacy of whatever Atlantis was, right? Whatever there
Right.
was before the Younger Dryas events. But whatever. So there's probably even deeper, longer history we don't know about, right? But what we do know, these Aryans, right? They are basically reindeer hunters, and they would travel from the Altai mountains in Mongolia all the way over to the Black Sea in Ukraine and around that area, and they would go back and forth, following all these reindeer, right? And their whole life was these reindeer. They used them as beasts of burden, food. They used them for resources, leather, and all kind of stuff. They created chariots, and they were some of the best metal workers in the history of man that we know of, et cetera, et cetera,
Mhm.
et cetera. But what these guys did, because I call the Aryans or the white people the busy bees, right? Because they're traveling back and forth. So they're picking up information over here, and then of course they share it when they get over there. Not intentionally, just you know, incidentally. But they're constantly bringing information back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Therefore, we don't even really know who originated these stories. Was it Orientals? Was it Indians? That would be my vote. My vote. Was it some of the early Gallic peoples? Was it something out of Africa, which is unlikely because keep in mind it's not out of Africa, it's into Africa. Isn't that interesting how much of a shift that took? Boy,
Mhm.
I mean, when I was a college boy, it was all out of Africa, out of Africa, out of Africa. Now we know it's into Africa. The
Yep.
the the blacks are literally the youngest humans. And of course, that shouldn't be a surprise, seeing as they have the most mutations. And I always hear this argument: "Well, they have the most mutations. That means that they're oldest." I'm like, that's how that works, because that doesn't make sense. It's kind of the opposite. If they have the most mutations, they must be the newest thing, right?
One would imagine.
You would think. And of course, now
Yep.
we know, right? So, and don't listen to any other idiot that talks about it because we know we have all the DNA information, guys. It's into Africa, not out of Africa. Well, wherever these stories, these origins of this Jesus story, it's been knocking around a long, long, long time, right?
Mhm.
And is it just a concept that is a great, good concept of being honorable and true to each other and doing no
Mhm.
harm and things to teach you how to live a better life, or is there something more to it? I don't know, but I'll take the former
Yep.
any
Yep.
day.
Like I said, if it works, why are you arguing with it?
Yeah, yeah, I don't give a
Uh,
shit. It's a good thing, man. Christianity is and Zoroastrianism and Buddhism, which are all
yep.
connected. They're all connected. These are good things
That's right.
when they're let to be what they are,
When they're
right?
not manipulated into other things.
Yeah,
Correct.
like
Yes.
Islam has been completely twisted away. And the reason for it is those damn Meccans, yeah, I said it, went and they were having all their conquest and they went into Damascus, and once again, deja vu, and they
Mm.
stole all the artifacts from Damascus and took it down to their little fucking Moloch ball worshiping place down there we call Mecca, right?
Yep.
That's how that all came to be. They've twisted it because they took the Gnostic vision and mixed it with their Molochian nonsense.
Hmm.
That's how we got where we are, right? When it comes to them. And the headline of the show today is very simple. Who's more of a pain in the ass? The Middle East or fucking China? Because they're both a pain in the ass. And I think we're all quite sick of this shit.
Yeah, yeah. The rest
TFT
of the world,
over.
the civilized world, we've had enough. Had
We
enough of
have.
their games and their shenanigans. And the reality is, we can't afford to keep bailing them out of their own stupidity. And we should stop trying.
Hmm.
To be honest, we don't need them. This idea that we need these places to be functioning, not really,
No.
not really. We have this hemisphere, this whole hemisphere over here, that's for the most part Christian. It should stay that way, and in fact, should probably become more so. Be real great if we could get rid of the mysticism out of the Central and South America, because it's evil. The mysticism they practice down there, most of it anyway. But regardless, the we don't need these two places anymore. We don't need to be beholden to them. We have more
Huh?
oil and resources over here
Yep.
than they do in the Middle East.
Yep.
We have everything China has by 10 pretty much over here, than they do, and we don't have to deal with, China. Um, there's just no good reason that we in, especially in America and the broader West, even further, we keep meddling over there, other than our politicians are all bought and paid for by interests that are over there, whether
Yeah.
they're Iranian interests or Israeli interests or Saudi Arabian interests or whatever they are. They're all bought and paid for by these groups from over there, and that's the only reason we
Yeah.
keep meddling. Because
Yeah.
until somebody in the U.S. government and in the Defense Department and somebody can give me a reason why we need to destroy Syria, Libya, Lebanon now, why we needed to destroy Iraq, why Afghanistan needed to be messed with. If anybody can give me an actual reason other than the bullshit propaganda, like
Money.
what's the game here? Exactly, they were paid, they got bribed.
Yeah.
What's
Resources
the
and money.
game here?
Yeah.
Because to us, to the normal Western citizen of the different countries, but let's be honest, they're all under America's thumb. Uh, every single one of us, none of us benefited a single fucking whip from any of
No.
this.
No.
Not a single bit. In fact, all my generation got was a bunch of trauma from that damn desert.
Yeah,
So
but we also got combat ready troops, I suppose. That's
yeah,
not a
but
great
if we
benefit,
if
but
we
it's a
st-
benefit.
if we stop meddling in the Middle East, we largely don't need them. Or
That's
at least we could bring them
true.
over here and deal
Yeah.
with these damn
Well,
cartels and shit.
the good thing is the Chinese are now going to experience the absolute oppression of the Middle East. So
Yep.
good, let them have it.
Have
But
fun.
Yeah, have fun. But let's talk about the stupidity of the people in this area, though. And I'm not talking about the common man who's ignorant and only studies the Quran. Talk about the bosses, like princes and kings and those guys. They know that their oil is running out, so they want to diversify. Good idea, right? You should diversify.
Yes.
You got all this money right now. You should diversify. Let's go one by one. Let's go into Egypt, right? So Egypt has Cairo and Alexandria make up nearly the entire country, right? Those two cities, and of course Cairo's 3 times the size of Alexandria, but that's pretty much all the humans that live in. It was like what 160 million people or whatever it is. It's a pretty sizable population, I guess. Cairo itself is like 100 plus 120 million or something. The problem now, they have a problem because congestion and traffic is out of control. When they
Hmm.
had the Arab Spring pop up, they found that the military couldn't move around and the people could just clog roads and shut down the government's ability to respond. And this panicked them. Right. What do you do? How do you fix it? You got this overcrowded city that's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And How do you fix it? Well, probably the way to deal with traffic would be, to go play City Skylines 2 or the first one too, and understand that, yeah, mass transit, it helps. So they could build a subway system that it would be a pain in the ass, sure, But they could build a subway system and a tram system, and just to diversify their transportation in Cairo, and it would cost them billions of dollars. Sure, sure, sure. This is what you should do, right? And also try to diversify your economy, kind of like the old guy, this Assisi guy. He didn't care anything about it, but the old guy, who everyone's like, oh, he's evil. Well, he was also the guy that was trying to create farms in the desert and trying to diversify the economy. So, all right. But
Mhm.
anyway, but okay. So really, what you need to do is build a subway system. It's going to cost billions. It's going to be a major pain in the ass. But is that what the leaders of Egypt do? No. No, we're going to go
Mhm.
create a new capital that has very wide roads, and therefore they won't be able to clog it. We can move around. Doesn't help you with Cairo, just helps you with this new capital city that you're building. And they decided, well, we're going to put 60 billion on it. 60 with a 6 and a 0. And of course, that's not even going to be close to the end price, right? And they're just bogged down in the building of this city, which they're doing. So there's geniuses at work. You got the Saudis and the UAE who've built all kind of cities that are not being used. They're in the process of burning billions of dollars for stuff that won't be used. They're also, have the idea. Well, we got to diversify, so they go buy UFC, F1, WWE, all these kind of entertainment things, not
Mhm.
taking into account who the fuck's going to go to your boiling hot desert to partake in it, you dumbasses. I mean, who the fuck is going to go to the freaking Middle East in the middle of a goddamn 50-degree day to watch a wrestling match? Fuck off, right? If you're going to diversify, diversify. But no, 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 because they're all glam, glam, bling, bling, right? They're morons.
Yes, correct.
Sorry,
You are
I
correct, sir.
ranted.
Bit of a rant, but it's good. It's good. Good. Chester, I have a cur- I have a query for you.
Huh.
A question, if you will. Um, so you hear Trump out here, our boy,
Yeah.
the once and future king, and he is talking. He just did it again, that NBC interview, talking about that maybe we just need to annex Mexico and Canada.
Well,
Now
I
me,
don't want Mexico.
now me, well, I would only want it if we made it a territory like the Philippines or something like that. If it wasn't a we don't need it to be a state. That's silly. Um, but now me personally, being an imperialist, my problem has not been American imperialism. My problem has been American imperialism is retarded. If
Yeah,
we're going to do
that's
it,
fair.
then let's do it.
That's
Let's
fair.
actually do it.
Yeah.
Uh, Not this half-ass thing where we go blow everything up and then rebuild it and leave. What? What
We've
was
been
that
hemming
for?
and hawing over Canada joining America for freaking decades, dude.
But we should. I honestly think it's a good idea because the Canadian people, they're a mess, but they've been trying to get out from the under the thumb of Trudeau for, pretty much his whole reign. Uh, and they just they just can't. No matter what they do, that they have some new snaky way to keep that little retard in power. And
That's true, Bob.
I've actually said repeatedly, I don't think there's a good reason why America, as powerful and wealthy as we are, should permit these two countries to exist on our largest border and our most exposed border. If any other empire with the power that we have would never have tolerated that if they could prevent it,
Oh, I know.
right? Never.
I'm going to get some
But yet
coffee.
we do. But yet we do. And I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. Now, the main reasoning would be one, because it'd be very expensive, it'd be very bloody, blah, 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 blah. I get all that. But it's also because, for the most part, Canada and Mexico play ball. They do what we tell them. They might bitch and they might moan and they might complain, but at the end of the day, they know who's carrying the big stick and they know who, they need us a lot more than we need them. So typically they do basically what we want them to do. But what we absolutely cannot have, and both of them have fallen to this in the recent decade, we cannot have two socialist countries of their sizes. One's trying to go full communist if they keep up. Countries of their sizes on our direct borders. We simply can't have it. I get it that America has problems and we're real close to the same issues they're in. I get all that. Hopefully, Trump can fix a lot of that. We'll see. But let's assume that he does, and let's plan out in 10 years. What if Canada just keeps getting worse? What if it just keeps getting worse and it never gets better? What if Mexico just keeps getting more and more and more corrupt? I mean, we already know the cartels basically run the country, aside from like one area where they usually don't mess around too much, but pretty much they run the whole country. What if it just keeps getting worse? We already have who knows how many millions of illegals have been let in. The numbers vary depending on who you listen to in the last 4 years. We know for a fact that a lot of them, at minimum 13,000 of them are killers, minimum, probably way more. Uh, my point is, it's just going to keep getting worse, and it's going to keep getting worse until we get serious over here about over here. I've been an advocate for, I've said it on here before, we need to stop trying to be the world hegemon and just be this hemispherical hegemon like we already are, pull back a little bit, shore up what we have to shore up, and make this hemisphere just what the northern hemisphere has been since forever. So the northern hemisphere is where all the money is, right? Where all the wealth is, whether it's Europe or even like China, Russia, America. All these places are pretty much all in the northern hemisphere. There's a few exceptions, of course, but most of the wealthiest places are all above the equator. We could do the exact same thing over here for this whole hemisphere, and it wouldn't even be that difficult. The other problem, we have Brazil down there. Brazil's powerful. They're not as powerful as us, but they're powerful, and they're controlled by just all kinds of dictatorship nonsense. Full-on tyrants down there. My point is, my whole ramble here, and the reason why I brought it up, is because it's interesting that Trump keeps talking about it, because one thing that Donald Trump has, and I get most of it is him just being, him, he's using it as a bargaining chip, more so tongue-in-cheek than it is serious. But one thing that, for whatever reason, throughout his entire political career, and maybe his whole life, I'd imagine, he has this ability to speak like he's talking from the future. He has this ability to say things that then come true later, and it's uncanny. Like, he'll say some things that are just, off the wall, and then 3 or 4 months later, sometimes the next day, he's just right. It just happens. What he said was going to happen is exactly what happens. Now you could say, well, he's just smart, he's got common sense, and that's all true. That's not the point. The point is, when he says something, very often, eventually it becomes true, or it becomes not false, meaning you can't disprove it. I just think it's interesting. We're talking about, the troublesome areas in this world. There's reports coming out that Trump has said openly to people like Netanyahu and others that he doesn't want trouble in the Middle East this time. He wants nothing to do with it. So handle your business, because he wants nothing to do with it. He's got stuff to do here. And I agree wholeheartedly. Obviously, America's in trouble, and it shouldn't be. The only reason it is because we have this massive leviathanic bureaucracy stamping down on our throats. Yes, his uncle made a time machine. Again, this is just obviously me just, theorizing, spitballing, whatever you want to call it. But I've long been okay with the idea of America going the Roman way and becoming an empire, a proper one. But we have to actually do it. This half-assed thing we do that we've been doing since the World War II, it doesn't work. And all it does is make us bankrupt and create infinite enemies wherever we're doing it at, to the point where now you have Syria, which we've been dancing around. We'll be getting to, I don't know where Chester went, probably getting coffee. We'll be getting over to Syria here in a minute. The fall of Damascus, Assad had to flee. That's not a good thing. I get a lot of people don't like Assad. That's fine. That's not a good thing for anybody who lives in Syria. Then we have President Joseph Robinette Biden saying we're going to send more troops into Syria to stabilize it. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. It's not our business, for one. And for two, Syria, Damascus, Chester's mentioned it a couple times, is one of the oldest cities in the world. It's one of the most important, historically especially, regions of the world. And for it to fall to these crazy Islamists, these full-on Islamofascists, is bad for everybody, for all of humanity. These are the worst of the worst people on earth, and they're about to take over, with our help, by the way, our tax dollars at work, to prop up Al-Qaeda. That's interesting. These sorts of things are not our issue, and they shouldn't be our issue. And the fact that they continuously become our issue is a serious problem. Chester said it's money, and he's largely correct. It's because our politicians are bought and paid for either through direct money payments, bribes, or blackmail. Right? They got dirt on them, and they don't want them to spill the tea, so they just do what they're told. There's a reason why on certain issues there's absolutely zero or very very little breaking away from the orthodoxy of Washington D.C. And that is quite simply because the people who actually control that place, well, they all agree. So everybody just somehow magically votes unanimously for things like to fund the Ukraine war, or when Israel needs money, or what have you. But if you're in North Carolina and your whole town gets devastated by a hurricane, obliterated even, well, you get nothing, and you're supposed
Oh
to
wow,
smile and like it. And then
you're
if you
on that.
try,
Jeez.
Chester, then if you try to get something, or you try to keep the government from taking the thing that you have, they try to arrest you. So that's where we're at. No, I was talking about the owners, as they're called, the people who really control Congress, and how when it's something they care about, it's almost always a
Yeah, the
unanimous vote.
lobbyists.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking even beyond them, like certain lobbies. You know how like Ukraine was a pretty much unanimous vote that we would support Ukraine, even though the American people could not give a shit, could not give a single shit
It's a
what happens in
Slavic
Ukraine.
civil war. They'll let them work it out. Stay out of it. It would been done already.
And now we have. I was talking about Damascus falling. We were gonna get there,
Yeah.
but it's
Oh
all
yeah. I'll
connected,
go ahead
really.
and bring
It's
it
all
up.
connected, really. The fall of Damascus is not a good thing. I don't care if you don't like Assad. I get why. It's fine. But the fall of Damascus is a terrible thing. Millions of people are going to be displaced again. And Damascus is one of the oldest cities there is.
Yeah,
Syria, one of the
Damascus,
oldest
Aleppo,
places. Yeah.
Baalbek.
And it's very much in threat of being eradicated historically,
Well,
because the people who are winning are the ones who do the eradication.
that's true. And let me show you how out in the open all of this is, because I've seen a lot of people going on about, yay, Assad's dead or gone, or yay. And it's
Sounds like
like,
he's in Russia.
I think he is. You think that's a good thing. Now, it's so out in the open that even the lying Disney's ABC can't spin it.
Yeah.
Read the headline.
Who are the Syrian rebels that have toppled Assad and taken Damascus?
Now,
If you read the subheader right there, it tells you who they
yeah,
are.
and of course, what a benign headline. But in the body of this, they can't spin it, right?
No.
Because actually, there's multiple groups. There's not rebel as in one group of rebels. You
Right.
have there's multiple ones, and there's two big ones. You got the southern one and the northern one. The northern one is the one that when it took all those cities. They claim Damascus. They do not hold Damascus yet. So don't, as far as last I saw. But nevertheless, you have two groups. You have HTS, which of course is Al Qaeda, funded and backed by the what's that guy in Turkey's name? That damn
Erdogan.
Islamist, Erdogan. And of course, there's a lot of Turkic forces that are involved with those guys. In the South, and they've been causing nothing but trouble, which is why America has a whole bunch of military down there trying to deal with them. Those guys call themselves what, the Syrian Freedom Army or some Syrian something army, right? They're ISIS.
Yes.
So those idiots that are up there cheering, "Yay, Assad gone!" Well, you're cheering for Al Qaeda and ISIS, which we spent what 20 years banging our heads against.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. While
So,
Obama kept giving him weapons accidentally.
well,
Oops.
because there was a list that came out in that leak, right, from way back, what, 90s, 80s, whatever it was. We got to get rid of a Libyan
7
leader, the
countries.
Iraqi leader, the Syrian leader, the Iranian
Yep.
leader,
Yep.
right? And they've been working on it. Assad has been singled out. Keep in mind the big thing that they scream about with him is the chemical attacking his people, which has never been proven ever.
Correct.
The video evidence we have was debunked as lies from these terrorist groups, right? But I'm not going to sit there and say he's a great guy. I have no clue. No one really knows, right? Because he's been labeled, chosen,
Right.
singled out, right? But of course, all this means is more hardship and suffering for the Syrian people. That's all it means.
Correct. One of the oldest and last strongholds of a large Christian population in that area,
Yep.
besides, ironically, Iran.
and
Interesting.
and Iran,
Uh,
and of course Lebanon. Lebanon was
yes.
mostly Christian until the frickin' Palestinians running from getting their ass kicked from all the way from Qatar through Jordan, and of course escaping into Lebanon, and of course brought on the
Yep.
war, and now Hezbollah basically controls the country. But yeah, the Christians, they're systematically eliminating them. And of course, if you don't think we're going to have millions dead in Syria,
Oh, yeah,
right?
easily. Easily, yeah. And it's not, again, now we have our President Puddinbrain, saying we're going to send more people in there. The American people have been resolute that we're done. I mean, we can't be any louder except to start shooting you.
That's true.
That's the last step, is to just kill these people who keep sending us to these deserts. That's it.
Yeah.
We voted on it over and over and over and
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again to stop it.
Yep.
Obama was supposed to stop it. In 2008, he ran as an anti-war candidate.
Yep.
And then he upped it.
He upped it. Yeah. But honestly, let the Russians and Chinese deal with it. Let them have
Yeah,
their go. Let them have their
it's
fun.
their part of the
Go
world.
ahead.
Go.
It's
Have
going
at
to
it.
it's going to burn their resources and time just like it always does.
Yep.
But no, we should get the hell out. Let them just obliterate the each other. Now I know there's a lot of Christians in America, and they want to help to defend the Christians in the Middle East, and I respect that. I do.
Yep.
But enough of that shit, dude.
It's not
Because
our
you'll never
fight.
fix it. You'll never fix it.
No, no. It's not our fight. It's not our clown, not our circus.
No.
Uh,
And
the idea that it needs to be is complete propaganda from mostly the Israeli lobby, but others in this country, that we need to be involved in these countries at all. There is zero logical argument for to the American public that you can make, that anyone can make, why anything in the Middle East is our problem. It is literally the other side of the world. Literally. We have nothing over there we need. There is more oil in Colorado right now than in all of the Middle East combined that we're not touching. And that's just Colorado. We don't even know about the rest of the states. They're finding it all the time. They find
right.
more oil. There's a ton up in Alaska that they stopped pumping because Biden decided they were just
Oh,
going
we
to
got
stop.
plenty. We don't need it. Yeah, we don't need it. You're 100% right on that. And that's even in this latest interview with Trump, he said, "Drill, baby, drill."
Yes.
Yeah, and he's right.
Which is the point. That's why he wants to do that. He wants us to stop being beholden to these a literal cartel in
Yeah.
OPEC.
Yeah.
He wants us to stop being beholden to them because we don't need to be. We
Yeah.
don't need to be, guys. We are on untouched land. We've only been here as a real civilization that we can pinpoint to for what, 500-600 years at most.
Nah,
And we
not
haven't been
even
tapping the resources. We haven't been tapping the resources for that long because we couldn't. We didn't have the means.
100
There was no
years,
infrastructure.
really.
Yeah. So it's untethered. We don't even know. We keep thinking we know. We keep talking about. We don't know. There's no way for us to know. It's too much.
It
This
is too
hemisphere is
big.
huge. It takes way too long to find that sort of stuff. That's why they're constantly finding more, because
Yeah.
there's more to find.
Yeah. No, that's
Ah, it
true.
fires me up.
It
The global
does.
hegemon
And
stuff fires me up because it's completely unnecessary. There's zero argument anyone can give for why it's our problem. Zero. I've heard them
no,
all, and
yeah.
they're all bullshit.
And I hope we can keep a run here for a while and just stay out of these wars and focus on making America functional, right?
Yes.
Or great again, depending on the propaganda you want to use. But functional is really what you need, right? And let the other countries go burn their money and time and wealth in that cesspool, right?
Yep.
Because that's what it is. And everyone's on, of course, Americans particularly, very big supporters of Israel. Fine, I have no problem with that. But they're just as much a part of the problem as everybody else, dude.
Yep.
They really are,
Yep.
right? So just leave that place to its fate, as it always has been. These people have been murdering each other for thousands of years, and it will not stop.
Thousands.
They don't. They're
No,
it's all vendetta cultures, right?
no.
And particularly, and the thing is, the only way to deal with it, the only way to, and let's be brutally honest. The only way to deal with it is to burn every Quran on the face of the planet and every memory of it, and kill every Muslim there is. Now, who's going to pull that
Permanently,
trigger? Who's going to pull that
permanently
trigger?
deal with it. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
Jesus eventually,
Well,
I
I'm
believe.
just
But yeah,
saying, but there ain't no mortal realm that's going to do pull that trigger. No
no,
one's going to pull that
no.
trigger. But I mean, if you
So
want to be done with
containment.
it, that's what you have to do.
The
And
only
who? No one
solution
wants
is
that.
containment. Keep them in where they're
Yeah.
at and don't let them spread.
I'd say wall it
Uh,
the fuck up, dude. Go over to
yeah,
where they are around the world and just gather them up and just drop them in that desert and just wall that shit off.
let them have at it. They can have all
Yeah.
the incest they want. It's great. Go on.
Yeah. Let them
Have
have
fun.
it. Come back 200 years later and take a peek.
See, nope, they're still fucking their own sisters.
No,
Yep,
yeah, let's
yep.
yeah, off
Let's
we
leave
go.
them be.
Yeah. But I mean, and of course, this is a lot deeper. There's a lot of money involved with this. There's a lot of various kinds of propaganda and machinations and all kind of things going on. I know it's not that simple. I'm well aware, but I'm just saying it ain't my problem. It ain't your problem.
The crazy thing to me, it boggles my mind because even when I was going to church on a regular basis, and my church wasn't really like this. There was some of it, but not really. My pastor I grew up with was an anti-Zionist pastor. Actually, he was against Zionism. He talked about it a lot, how it was wrong to try and force the hand of God. Who do you think you are?
Oh,
Uh,
Jews?
yes,
Oh,
and so he would straight tell
I'm
you
going to get in
right to
trouble
your
for that one.
face straight tell you right to your face that a lot of people believe in this idea of judo Christianity, and I get for most people it just means we have similar principles, at least on the facade of it. But he understood that it was a much deeper, more sinister thing, and he would talk about it all the time. That this terminology is designed to neuter Christianity from its purpose, and its purpose is to convert Jews and everybody to Christianity. Uh, but regardless of
Sure.
that, my point is the a lot of these evangelicals are Judeo fanatics to the point where it's almost worshiping Israel and the
Oh
people of
yeah.
Israel and the chosen people,
Yeah.
quote
The
unquote, all this stuff.
progressives of
Yeah,
Israel. Let's get it right. Yeah.
this sort of stuff here is one of the main reasons why America ends up over there because they play on these people's sensibilities. They're because they take things out of context from like the scripture where it says, anybody who blesses the house of Israel, God will bless. Well, the problem is the state of Israel is not the house of Israel.
No.
You idiots. It's not the same thing.
No.
The state, anybody could call their state Israel if they wanted to.
Well,
So does that mean they're in?
I mean, shit. The Muslims claim to be from the house of Israel.
Exactly. They claim to be the correct descendants of Abraham.
Yeah.
So why their claim's wrong and there's this one's right? Wait a minute, back up. Hold on. Muslims like the
Wait a
Torah
minute.
too.
Something ain't right.
They love it.
I love that
They
black
love
kid.
it.
He's awesome.
They love the Torah. The Muslims do. They have great reverence for it. They just don't believe it is the complete word of God. They believe the Quran is.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're wrong.
but regardless, yeah, of course. But regardless, why do the who makes the rules here? And my point is, these evangelicals, which is mostly who it is, who fall for Zionism, you're simply incorrect. There is nothing any more special about those people, especially since they're not even those people. The people who are special, if you're a Christian, are the followers of Jesus Christ. The people who
Right.
persecuted the followers of Jesus Christ were the people you're defending, the descendants of the people you're defending now.
Well,
That's who did it. The Romans didn't really care as long as the Christians paid their taxes and didn't cause trouble until a bunch of Jews got together and paid them to kill them.
yeah,
And that's what happened.
it
That's a
is.
fact. It's not
Well,
even anti Semitic. That's the truth of what
yeah,
happened.
we actually have letters from Pontius Pilate in regards to that. And he was not happy
Yep.
with the situation.
Nope.
He
He
was
didn't
not.
know
He was
he didn't
bitching to the
understand.
emperor about what he had to do. Actually, it's quite
Yeah,
interesting.
he didn't understand. He even had great respect for Jesus, he said. He actually didn't
He
see
did.
what the problem
Yeah.
was. What's the
And
problem here?
one of the best descriptions of Jesus comes from him because he was out just walking amongst the people and he stopped and he listened to one of his sermons, Yeshua's sermons.
Yep.
So I mean, just Pontius Pilate confirms that there was a dude named Yeshua that was going around doing stuff.
Yep.
He confirms it completely, and that's extra biblical, right?
Yep.
And of course, he
And
also
you know what
yeah, go
he
ahead.
describes him with light, basically blonde hair. It
Blonde
sounds like,
hair,
or like light
yeah,
brown,
tall,
and light eyes, which
light
sounds like
eyes,
either like gray or blue eyes. And tall, yeah, taller than everybody around him.
tall,
Like he stood out in a crowd, but not too much,
and
is what he
waves
said,
of
basically.
aura of levels of charisma.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he actually respected the guy quite a bit. I liked
Yep.
liked what he used to go and listen to his sermons, right? Because he thought it was interesting what he was saying. But yeah, but a lot of those royal peoples are coming out of the Aryan bloodlines. They just are,
Yes.
right? The Gallic people, the Celts, if you prefer, their story is older and different as far as Europe is concerned. But the those Aryans, I mean, you get these freaking these redneck, leatherneck, reindeer hunters, and they come rolling down that pass into the Middle East, and they find all these soft belly little agrarians, and they took whatever the hell they wanted. You see,
Always the leathernecks. It's always the
it's always the
bastards,
fucking
Chester.
leathernecks, man.
My theory of the bastard theory of history, I think, is just right. The bastards do everything. They change everything whenever because they can. They're the ones with all the power. They don't care. They simply don't care about your norms and traditions. They go take what they want and do what they want.
That's true. You know where the
They're basically a whole. They were a whole group of Elons. They just go out and do things,
Yeah,
and they just
that's
keep
true.
winning. It's crazy.
You know where the term leatherneck comes from?
Tell me.
When we under Jefferson, of course, we were, and this, of course, when the Marines were created, we were
Yep.
dealing with the Muslims, right? Muslim problem,
Yes, we
right?
were. Our
We
first
forget
war.
about Tripoli and things like that,
The
right?
first American
Um,
international war
and
was against Muslims.
it was, and because Muslims are, beheading crazy, they love to do it. The Marines that were sent in to fight them, they literally put leather straps around their necks to
Yep.
help protect them from because they were so obsessed with because it says in the Quran to sever the head from the neck, right? It says to
Right.
do this. This is why they do that. They were so obsessed that in combat they'd always focused on wanting to strike the neck, right? Because
Right.
they're a bunch of zealots. And that they put leather strapping and I'm sure it was girded with metal. I've never seen one, but I'm sure it was effective around their necks to protect away from that focus. Therefore, leather neck. Interesting, huh? But it is also interesting here that even ABC, owned by Disney, lies constantly, all about the propaganda on a daily basis. Even they can't spin it because this article is pretty straight up.
Mhm.
Now it ends with a little bit of a hopefulness. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But
Yeah.
they are honest in this article, and I was like, wow,
Yeah, they can't
that's
spin it.
different.
There's no spinning it. These are the worst of the worst. Look, I get it. Assad wasn't necessarily a good guy, at least allegedly.
We
Um,
don't know.
but there's no way he was worse than these guys. These are true monsters that
They
have
are, and
allegedly won.
after all this time, keep in mind that they have true believers amongst them, but they're basically mercenary groups, right?
Correct.
Now, keep in mind there was what 30, 60,000. I can't remember the number, but that the Hezbollah was able to, coax into Lebanon by giving them houses and stuff, and of course putting missiles in their houses, which they're all been blown up now. But those are all mercenaries they brought in, right? So, and of course, when I say mercenary, I mean is they don't care about religion. It's all about money, right?
Right.
And spoils and rape and all the things they do. But yeah, Damascus is going to. I'm worried. This is my worry, to be honest with you. Aleppo has been a crater for frickin' 8 years, right?
Yep.
If you go look at the night view map, it's there. You can't even see it on the map, dude. It's blacked out. One of the oldest cities on Earth
Yep.
has no
Gone.
light at nighttime, none. And of course, what I'm worried about with Damascus, particularly because that's their ultimate goal,
Hmm.
is another Berlin.
Oh God.
That's what I'm
The
worried
last thing
about.
we need.
Well, I think it's what we're heading for because everyone's bailed out. It looks like the Russians are not really making a decision to get involved, even though to the west there they got that big military base, which keep in mind they forced Assad to give them, and they even
Hmm.
shamed him with it. The Russians are not Assad's friend.
No.
The Russians are just taking advantage of the situation, which fair enough. America does the same thing, as does everybody
Hmm.
else. But I'm kind of curious what the Russians would do. But I'm really worried about Damascus being the next Berlin, and what I mean
Yeah,
by what the Russians did in Berlin. It was bad, dude. It was really, really
wasn't
bad.
good.
It wasn't good. Anyway, interesting. So yeah, that's nothing good about this.
It
Um,
gets me fired up because I've been to Syria, just briefly when I was over there.
uh
When I was real young, we went on a basically like a tour of the holy sites over there when I was in like 13. Me and my
Sure,
parents did. I've been to Syria. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Lebanon. Just real like a half a day trip and then back into Israel. Back when it
sure,
was a little bit more stable, obviously.
obviously.
Um, and it's just a real tragedy. These places, man. And Chester, you know this. You've been on places like this. You can just feel the spirit there. You can feel the history in some of these places. Like I went to where I went to Jericho. I went to oh, what's the name of that fortress on a hill over there? Masada? Is that what it's called?
Masada,
I went
yeah.
there. Yeah, I've been all over there. And you can just, and obviously
Thank you,
Jerusalem,
Roger.
you can just feel it. So when places like this get devastated for no good reason, by the way, none of this has to be happening for no good reason. Uh, it's just it's a human tragedy because you can't get it back. Once it's gone, it's go. Look at the Library of Alexandria. It's all. It's gone. That's never coming back. No matter who did it, is largely immaterial to my point because it's never coming back.
Sure, and
And all
all
of
the
that's
books
lost
burned in
forever.
the Americas too.
Yep, lost forever, gone.
Catholics.
All the stuff that they destroyed in Iraq and stuff with the Iraqis, but also ISIS. That all the stuff they've been tearing up.
You know,
It's just gone.
you know who destroyed? They blame the Romans for
Hmm.
the burning of the Library of Alexandria, but you know who actually it was?
Who was it?
It was Constantine making Christianity the official religion. Christians burned the Library of Alexandria, dude.
Well, when they first, well, not even when they first, but really for a few hundred years there, and even after, once the establishment of the Roman Church, they became real iconoclastic. Christians did,
They did.
and it
They
was a
did.
serious.
And
Honestly, it was a serious problem that
they,
was
yeah.
hard. We don't even really know how much they just like overall. There's no way to know. It's gone.
Well, it's the
It's gone.
Moses story. I mean, the Ten Commandments doesn't say you have to become an iconoclast. It says don't hold any of those things above God. It didn't
That's
say
right.
you can't have them. But
Hmm.
Moses and them creating the golden calf, and that's what it comes out of. But no, they are certainly iconoclastic. And do keep in mind that was an early Berlin. What happened in Alexandria?
Yep.
Lots of Jews died. A lot of Greeks died. Raping in the street. Those Christians went wild, dude. It was
Yep.
really bad. It was really bad what happened during that uprising. And of course, what was Constantine's response to it? Nothing, right? But whatever. It is interesting here that even ABC can't spin this, and it's gonna get much worse before it gets better, unfortunately.
It
But
is.
let's move on to China, the
I
other.
do have to say I find it interesting. Right before Trump gets back in there, all of the sudden,
Mhm.
Assad gets pushed out. There's this big surge that his forces just give up, and it's just it. Like that's interesting.
It is,
Anyway,
but I don't think Trump cares. I
I don't
really
either.
don't think he wants to end
I
the
think they.
wars.
Yes, yes, yes. I think they think Trump cares, which is the problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
China's economy is in bad shape. Can its whatever it takes stimulus effort turn things around? No.
No,
There, I answer that quickly. You know why?
no,
Stimulus doesn't work.
no,
It's never worked.
no.
The best thing you can do is get out of the way and let the producers produce. That's
Okay.
it.
And this is a
That's
CNN
it.
article where they're completely trying to do a snow job on you. The
Of
reason
course.
why I chose this one over others, right? Because here is the fact. The Chinese economy has been crumbling. It's got to the point now, it's so bad in the streets that people are knowing they're going to go to jail and might disappear for the rest of their lives, are standing up and protesting. Hong Kong has been so eviscerated that of course that was a big moneymaker for China, right?
Yep.
And the big deal with that was no one went to help them. Instead, what all the governments in the world did is like, fine, we're going to pull all our money out of Hong Kong, and their stock market collapsed. Uh,
I've said it before. It was Trump's greatest failing that he
it
abandoned Hong
was.
Kong.
We should have went to their aid. Not
Yep.
a damn person did nothing, other than just bankrupt them, which that's not going to
Yeah.
help. And of course, what
No.
this article is talking about is the fact that we just had an 18% pump to the Hong Kong stock market here very recently. But of course, it's completely fake. There's nothing real about it, which is the problem with the Chinese economy. See, the Japanese are constantly messing with their books too. They
Yeah.
need to keep the yen weaker than the dollar, right? And it's a constant battle for them to do so because this is an export country, right? Therefore, they want to be have the yen weak to the dollar. That's good for them, right? And
Yes.
they're constantly manipulating. The big difference between what China is doing and what Japan is doing, and to be fair, most countries on the planet are doing, is Japan has an actual successful industrial foundation under them, right?
Mhm.
China does not. And we've seen when we got a little bit of pressure, things started collapsing. If you never heard the term tofu dregs, well, it's talking about the fact that every little person in China, every businessman, every communist commissar are out for themselves. Fuck the whole. Fuck Beijing, right? And in
Yep.
doing so, they're causing trouble everywhere. You build a big giant apartment building, right? Everyone, you got all these idiots from Europe saying, "Look how quick the Chinese build. At what cost?" Right?
Yes.
Because those buildings are full of concrete with not a bit of rebar in it because they didn't want to spend the money. They put that in their pocket. This is why there you see buildings literally collapsing. Things are so
Mhm.
bad in China. We're seeing honor killings every day. We're seeing explosions all over the place and fires, and it's arson. And who's doing it? Some people are suggesting it's the government itself. Some people think it's rogue commissars, which it might be. But most of the evidence I've seen are just the people are sick and tired of it, so they're just starting fires because they're not getting paid from the work they have, or they don't have a job. They got laid off by these banks and companies that just told them, "Nope, yeah, you're not working today. You're done. Go home." Right, and then never come back. You can't take your money out of the bank in China. Keep that in mind. They can't get their money. It has been basically stolen by the government. You have
Yep.
little local commissars all over China that create their own special little taxes because everyone's on their own now, right? Because Beijing has lost control. So these commissars need to raise their own money to keep their power and function. So they're just creating little taxes, like setting up little toll booths on the road and charging anybody for the stupidest thing. They'll just come up with some nonsense thing and steal their money, right? And this is happening across the entirety of China, even in Beijing, which is shocking because that's the center, right? But
Yep.
it's just complete and utter chaos. And of course, we have an economist a few years back said that China won't survive 10 years, and I think he's right.
Yep.
We're about 3 4 years into that comment, but I don't see this China surviving in this form for another 5 years. I can't imagine it. Now
Mm.
they're acting tough and big with their wolf warrior politics that they have, which is bully everybody, act tough no matter what. But you're getting all these countries from Central Europe to Africa that are defaulting on their loans with China, and fair enough, they should be doing that, right? And it's just an unbelievable pickle that China has found itself in, and I don't know how you work yourself out of it. Now, Xi Jinping has become more and more totalitarian and tyrannical, and of course, that's part of the problem, but it's also trying to be a solution to the problem. And ultimately, I think what you're going to see happen is them fall back into the Red Revolution period, where they become very, very isolationist and xenophobic, which they kind of are anyway, and just kind of fall in on themselves. So either it will just see the death of millions of Chinese again, and it'll come out the other side with the communists still in charge somehow, and then maybe they'll build from there, or you'll see a complete collapse. It really is up to the Chinese people. There's so much dissidence and there's so much pushback that I'm not sure. I'm not sure. In general, people don't want to get hurt and feel pain and go to war. That's the general human thinking.
Yep.
And therefore, of course, governments play on that, right? And I don't know what's going to happen in China. I have a feeling it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because she understands that he has lost international control, and I think you're just going to see this guy become more and more isolationist and just lock China down, because so much of their industry has left China into Southeast Asia. To be fair, we should have been there from the beginning. These are democracies, right?
Hmm.
Some of them are monarchic democracies, but they're still democracies. The people are happy. The people actually care about, keeping themselves clean. If someone's hurt on the side of the road, they go help each other. In China, this doesn't happen because you know what? You get sued,
Right.
right? And you get blamed. And if there is one of the thing where everyone was, oh, there's cameras everywhere in China. Yes, that is part of the totalitarian control, but it also saving people's ass, because there are so many examples of a person seeing some person hurt on the side of the road, or old man falls down at the bus stop, and they just go to try to help him. Right. And of course, he's like, you did this to me. You did this to me. He calls up his family. They all showed up, beat the hell out of the guy who was trying to help him, and tell the police, this guy did it, this guy did it. And then the cops, all they have is, well, let's look at the footage. So those CCTV systems are actually saving people's ass, right? Because this is happening every day. Because one of the problems you have in China, there's a lot of problems, but one of the big ones is the lost generation. And that's the older people, say from around 50 to death. And those people, they don't care about shit. They were under Mao, right? They don't care about anything. They'll steal anything from you. They'll lie in a second. They're filthy. They throw trash everywhere. The young people can't stand them, but they are the problem, because the communist leadership doesn't do anything to wrangle them. Matter of fact, if you're a young person's complaining, hey, I got a farm here, I'm trying to run my farm, and all these old grandmas and grandpas just came and stole my entire crop, they're like, "Oh, you are not a good communist. Go to jail." So, I mean, what do you're fucked if you do or if you don't. I mean, what the hell? I mean,
Right.
this is China. I mean, so I don't know. I guess I could ramble on for a while, but that's pretty much what I got to offer on it.
Oh, China. China, China, China. China.
Yeah. Well, Trump's got a point, doesn't he?
He does. China is a problem. They've been a problem for a while. And unfortunately, unless the people over there, and maybe they are, hopefully they are, fixes it, it's just not going to get better.
Yeah. Well, just this keep investing tons of money into Thailand and Vietnam and Indonesia and the Philippines, and hopefully we can get Myanmar straightened out, because that's a mess. But no one gives a shit, because it's just the American and the Chinese fighting a proxy war, trying to keep the Chinese out of the Indian Ocean is really what that is. But yeah, pump more money in Thailand, man. It's a great place, wonderful, happy, smiley people. They give you the shirt off their back, literally. They have great food and they're booming, and everyone's even more happy and smiling. I mean, let's do more of that. Why didn't we go there in the beginning? Because it's still lower wages than America. I mean, it's not, the same level as China, I suppose. And I guess money is the end answer. But Kissinger and all those assholes, they should have went into Southeast Asia, because they're democracies, right?
Yep.
But I guess the point is democracy gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does.
And we see these people all these days with, Sandy Cortez and, all her little group. And of course, Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and, and Schiff and all these standard villains. They complain every day about the freedom of democracy. They hate it. And then out the other side of their mouth, they're saying, he's destroying our democracy. Holy shit, dude. I mean, it's like it's real. You would think it's a movie or some kind of a poorly written movie plot, right? But no, it's real.
Yeah, that's terrible. I've advocated for years that there's no good reason other than the cartel nonsense, which we could solve, or solve a lot of it, that we couldn't shift this. Southeast Asia is a good place, obviously, but another place would be, or also do it concordantly, shift a lot of our manufacturing to Central America. And the
Or
main
maybe
reason
back
being,
in
which,
America. How about that?
well, yeah, but I'm talking about stuff we don't need, like the junk stuff. Uh, the main reason being is because then you don't have to, bring it across the largest ocean in the world.
Yeah,
It'd be a lot better if we didn't have that. And
cheaper.
the only reason we can do that is because the U.S. Navy controls it. That's it. That's the only
Right.
reason.
That's true.
If the U.S. Navy stopped doing that for some reason, for whatever reason, well, then those shipping lanes would get real tight.
They
Uh,
would. They would. Yeah.
I just think it makes a lot of sense. Like certain things, like why do we get our cell phones from China? Why do we get so many products, so many like miscellaneous products from China? We shouldn't, in my estimation. Why would we trust the Chinese Communist government not to put bombs in our cell phones, like apparently Israel can do with pagers?
Yeah.
Um,
That was awesome.
yeah, why in God's name wouldn't we think the Chinese are capable of it? What's to stop them? They control the factories over there.
Yep.
They could easily do it.
They easily. They're well, all this DEI stuff and fentanyl is being funded by China. This is all their
Yep.
initiatives. They don't allow it in their country, of course, but that it's all the DEI stuff's coming out of China. Propaganda to hurt because
The
they hate you. They want to destroy your power and your
That's
country.
right.
They want world domination. This is what the CCP wanted. And of course, if you
Well, the
can show me an
communists.
example of a communist country that doesn't want
Yeah,
world domination.
that's what I said. Yeah, the communists. There's no such thing. People are like, well, that was internet. This is the cope. That was international communism.
Uh-huh.
No, schnookums.
Uh-huh.
That was communism.
It's just
Read Karl
it's
Marx.
like
It's
Islam.
a global call.
It's a religion, dude.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yes. Um. But I agree that we should bring back most of the more crucial manufacturing. There's no reason we shouldn't have all our steel made here or whatever the top metal would be at the time. Right now, it's industrial grade steel. There's no reason it wouldn't be that. Shouldn't be made here. There's no reason we shouldn't have all our food here, especially considering we have the most valuable land in the world,
Yeah.
the Mississippi
And
River Delta
and
or
keep in
Valley.
mind, we burn a lot of the food collected by the
Oh my
government every
God,
year. We also pay a
it just
lot
gets
of
burned.
farmers not to farm.
That's right. Yeah, because it's too much. You see,
Yeah.
it oversaturates the market. Like, wait a minute. Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Back up. There's another way to solve this problem.
Yeah.
It's to not grow so much then. There's a
Or
chance.
just stop importing. You don't understand how much food is imported into America on an hourly
Yeah,
basis. I'm and
for no reason.
to no reason. I mean, there's
Yep.
certain things we can't grow in America, like say Brazil nuts. They're
Well,
very
right.
temperamental. But in
But
general, we should be growing
with the
everything,
world,
and it should be growing locally.
would America fall apart if for some reason we couldn't get Brazil
Hey,
nuts?
now that's sacrilege.
I mean, Brazil nuts are great. They're fine. Don't get me wrong, but I think we'd be okay. I think we'd
It is my favorite nut.
I think we'd mush on and be just
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Um, but my point is, you do your agriculture, you do your primary metallurgy, which right now is steel and aluminum. You do, I think we do aluminum still. You do your any security technologies, which is one of the main reasons cell phones should be made here. Uh,
Yeah.
and you do your military technology as well. Should obviously all in a lot of it should be made here. There's no good argument against that. And if we brought all of it back home, that'd be a massive boost to the internal economy of the country. I live at the place. We talk about this a lot. I live in the place where the government literally sent all of our manufacturing jobs and therefore our wealth to China. Literally paid it, subsidized it, and in some cases forced these companies to move out of this country.
Oh no, they did. They
Uh,
most certainly did. That's
yeah,
100% true. The many of these places like California, New York, you have economists saying we can't do business here because your taxation and your policy
yeah,
are punitive,
yes.
and they are. That's true. Hey, Raythul, what's up? He said, "What did your grandpa call Brazil nuts? A he, she's."
This guy, this guy, every time with this. This guy.
Anyway, let's move on. So that's the enough of the you know geopolitics and we had TFT today. That was impromptu, but it was fun.
It was there. It
It was
happened.
fun. It
Right
was
to your
fun.
face.
Let's get into our entertainment conversations.
Nice picture. Rachel Zegler's Y2K bombs at the box office following the Snow White backlash. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not why it bombed. It bombed because who the fuck wants to see a movie about Y2K?
Yeah, and it's also if you look at the critics' opinions, and I watched several of, critics. Some of them are like us, and some of them are not like us. They are kind of the avant-garde, artsy type guys. I watch both, right? Because I
Yep.
want to have a clear picture, which you should do too. Which is why people not only will watch, say, the judge, read the judge report, but they'll also watch things like RT, Wayon, Deutsche Welle, CNN, Fox, etc. Right? You need to look at a lot of things to read between the lines. The main reason this thing is flopped is because it's a horribly written movie.
Yeah. Well, and it has,
It
as
doesn't
much as
help
I
that
want to,
she's in it. Yeah,
yeah, as much as I want to blame her for, breathing, unfortunately, in this case, I don't think it was her.
no, no,
Uh,
it's just a bad movie.
it's just a bad choice. But this is the problem in Hollywood. Some people in Hollywood are still trying to make slop and pass it off as gravy, and it just does not work anymore. There's too many things vying for. Pro wrestling. I'm going to use pro wrestling as an example. It had to learn this lesson the hard way once Vince McMahon was out of the way, if we're being honest, that you can't just keep expecting the audience to show up just cuz. That
That's
doesn't
right, Alan.
work. Eventually, they move on, especially in a modern world where there is so much to do. That we have more entertainment than just about anything. It's too much. There's so much. Like there's hundreds of television shows I've never even heard of.
That's right,
Didn't
Roger.
even know they existed. Didn't even know they existed, and they'll be on season 12. I'm like, what? This thing's been around for 12 seasons,
I know
and
it's shocking. Yeah.
there's so much to do, so much to watch, so much to engage with. Not to mention you have all the classics. Not to mention you also have literature and just all these other things. This idea that people are just chomping at the bit to go to the movies, that's done. One,
Yeah.
COVID killed that, and two, it was already dying before that.
Yeah.
We'll go to movies that we're
Streaming.
interested in.
Yeah.
We'll go see movies that we're interested in for the experience of it. Like a
Sure.
good example for me is Deadpool and Wolverine. I wanted to see that in a theater because it's a good theater movie, right? There's a
Sure.
lot of there's a lot of high spots. We're going to use the wrestling vernacular. So you have to understand the business that you're in and how it has changed.
Mhm.
Event movies are still going to exist. They'll probably always exist, and there'll
Well,
probably always be theaters for them.
yeah, but
But
they're the only
this
reason to
idea,
go to a
yeah,
cinema is the
yeah,
event movie, right?
yeah, this idea that you can put out slop like this and you're just going to bring people in, it's just not going to happen. Even the movies that a lot of people thought were that and turned out to be great, like John Wick, for instance, right? Uh, even that didn't draw huge audiences until until the last couple.
Yeah, it made big
But
money on the last one. They cashed in. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Now, keep
yeah,
in mind, this movie was produced by A24. Now, A24 is pretty successful company, dude.
yep.
They put if you see A24 come up on the screen for a movie, you can trust that it's pretty well made, right? A24 is a good company, but boy, did they bomb here. And when we go to the box office mojo, we'll see. But you see here, 2 million. No, what is it? $15 million. Uh, um, uh, so it's a cheap movie, but it only made $2 million. So at least these kind of companies like A24 or XYZ or things like that, they will make cheaper movies, so their profit margin, of course, is better. But nevertheless, yeah, okay. I don't know. What do you think about the poster? Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
exactly. That's what you get.
Jonah Hill.
Uh,
Jesus.
Jonah Hill produced it. Oh, Jonah. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. He's gonna get fat again. Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, it's a bad idea. This is why I'm telling you, man. These I don't know if A24 is involved in it or not, But Hollywood's definitely just one big money laundering scheme at this point because it's just the amount of money they burn is unbelievable. It's unbelievable the amount of money that gets burned in Hollywood. Even though this movie didn't have a huge budget, it ain't gonna make its money back.
No, unfortunately, yeah. But it's look at the money. It's Neon's Kuko, which Neon also. I like Neon movies, dude. I like them. You got some really good Nicolas Cage stuff. Always kind of looking for Neon stuff, but that their most recent horror movie flopped bad.
Yep.
This another failure from A24, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Once again, that is super woke though. But
Yep.
yeah, they don't really go into what the movie's about. But I've seen critics so talk about it. But it's just an absolute horribly written thing. And this girl is cancer. She's cancer.
She is.
Don't put her in anything because even if it's well done movie, her presence is going to hurt you because she
Yep.
doesn't shut her damn mouth.
Yep.
Right? She
Which is
is
it's
an
pretty funny they
arrogant,
picked this picture.
better than you, superior human, right? This is
Yep.
what she is, right?
A
Um,
lot of these young ladies like her,
yeah,
and unfortunately, because men like to protect them, because it's what we do,
it is what we do,
uh, they need a stiff dose of humble pie. They need to be humbled hard,
right?
hard and fast and in the paint, because there's no other way to get them back to sanity. The problem with these women, the quote modern woman that you see all over everything now, that people bitching about them, the real problem at its core is pride.
Oh yeah,
They're narcissists,
yeah.
and
Well,
they don't realize it, but they are. A lot of them don't realize it, but they are. And the only
right.
way to fix a proud person is pain. And that doesn't have to be physical pain necessarily, but
No,
they have to
just
be humbled.
pressure,
They you
shame,
have to humble them.
shame.
And that's what's not happening. You see this
Yeah,
girl out here, she's costing these companies millions and millions of dollars. The idiot was out here talking about how she hopes Trump supporters suffer. Uh you're are you retarded? You understand that these Trump voters, a lot of them are just normal Americans. You know the people who pay to go see your stupid movies?
yeah,
You idiot.
yeah.
What are you
No, they
doing?
are they are idiots. But it's kind of one of the problems is you'll never see a progressive um, ever apologize, right?
Well, that's not true. That's not totally true. Our girl Anna Kasparian's been on an apology tour the last year or so,
She has
especially
been.
since Trump won. She was just
Um,
on Glenn Beck today, or I think it was today. It was recently,
yeah,
and she literally did say that I don't know if she said sorry, but it's as good of an apology as you're probably going to get out of a female. She acknowledged that she was wrong and that she thought she even called herself stupid. She said I was dumb, I was stupid, I was
yeah. But
misinformed.
you gotta understand with Anna what's happened.
Well, she almost
And
got raped. That's what
that
happened.
that's one. And of course, Jank is shifting because Jank's just a political chameleon.
He
But
is.
he's always been that way. But with Anna, you also got to keep in mind she's married. I don't know if
Yep.
she has a kid. I think she might, or
She
she's got
also,
one come
according to
on the
her,
way. This changes your thinking, dude.
yeah, she also, according to her, met a man who lives in her building with her and her, where her and her husband live. And he was a very kind man, very sweet man. They had conversations. They became friends. He'd come over for dinner with them and stuff. And then she found out later that he was a rabid Trump supporter. And she went, "Wait, what?" Like you know what she got, Chester? She got a little taste of that humble pie. That's what
Yeah,
she got
she did.
because she realized, oh, well, maybe they aren't all bad people. Because even if they'll say that in their deep in the place they don't want to talk about, a lot of them, they believe it. They believe that conservatives or whatever you're calling Trump people today are monsters and they just want to oppress people and they've made them into a caricature.
Yeah,
And when reality doesn't fit the caricature, you have two options as a person. You can either double down on the caricature and be like, "Well, he's just lying to me. He's just tricking me. It's just a big," or you can go, "Oh, well, I was wrong." That's
right.
it. Those are the
That's
only two
true.
options.
But it's more extreme than that in some ways because a lot of these
Yep.
people, I understand it's a minority, but a lot of these people are literally, I think, realistic. They really believe the hype and they're terrified. I
Yep.
can't believe how many gay guys have come out and they're worried, literally worried they're going to be killed. And of course, it's well,
So silly.
idiot. It is so silly
Yes.
because I mean, hold on a second. What has Trump? Let's think about it for a minute. What has Trump
Yep.
ever actually said about gays and transgenders? What has he ever said? Now, keep in mind, he's the only president I've ever seen stand on stage with a rainbow flag. He's
And
the
wave
only
it
one and wave
happily.
it, right?
In
But I mean,
2016 or 2020, when he gave his acceptance speech at the RNC and he talked about gay people, gay issues, whatever he said, I don't remember exact words, they cheered. And he was happy that they cheered. He was surprised that they cheered, in
yeah.
fact.
Well,
So, what are you so afraid of? Like, what do you
yeah,
think Republicans are going to do to you? They're going to
because
clap you in irons and hang you from the nearest yard arm?
well,
What do you
because
think's going to happen?
but Trump himself has never said anything actually. The
Negative,
only
anyway. He said all sorts of positive stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't said anything threatening. The only
No,
thing he said is, "Stay away from the kids. Knock it off."
leave kids alone.
That's it,
Knock it off.
and we all agree with that, right?
Yes.
So I don't. These people are so delusional, but they're legitimately panicking, and we're seeing people doing crazy things. You have a lot
Mhm.
of these girls who, I know once again, I know it's a minority, but a lot of these girls that are sterilizing themselves because they think Trump is going to force them to have sex with men and therefore get pregnant. Where did
Yeah,
you get that from?
what- literal fiction. Literal fiction is where they got that
I
from.
mean, America is one of the only countries on earth that has a year-to-year growing population.
That's right.
There's not
It's
many, you know. Most of the
it's
world, including India and China, are on a decline just like everyone else. Modernity does that.
it's also one of the only countries on earth, at least up until recently, where women were never really oppressed at all. They
No,
just weren't.
no, they
It's
weren't.
just a fact. They pretend that you feminists will screech, "Well, we didn't have the right to vote." Yeah,
Well, unless an
okay.
Indian was involved.
Well, you know what I mean. But no, the reality is, this idea that females have been oppressed here, it's just not true. Have they been made uncomfortable in certain situations that they maybe shouldn't have? Sure.
We
Yeah, but that's
all
not oppression.
have.
Yeah, exactly. That's not oppression. That's just you're uncomfortable.
That's life.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah,
been have there been times where men have done things they shouldn't? Yep. But guess
sure.
what? Guess who came and solved those
They're called
problems?
criminals.
Other men came
Yeah,
and solved those problems
yeah.
because believe it or not, ladies, I was actually thinking about this earlier. I was watching one of these videos, some older lady, probably about my age, dressed normally on one of these podcasts where these floozies dressed like skanks, and
Yeah, it's a
was just
problem.
telling them what are you guys talking about equality for? Are you going to get out there and build the roads? Are you going to get out here and build all this stuff we're sitting around right here? Almost all of it, if not all of it, was made by men. You
Sure.
going to get there and build it? Are you gonna fight the wars when it comes time for war? Oh, well, you don't.
No, it's
And then
just
she
that.
she she pointed out the fact. Here's the fact: in the last 100 years, give or take, women have had the right to vote in America. Right? They've had equal say on paper, anyway. They've had equal say to all decisions. Yet, from that time to this time, they still do basically the exact same jobs that they did then.
Yeah, no,
Now,
that's
wait a minute.
definitely true. 100 years on. That's definitely true. I've seen those statistics actually. But would you like me to
Point
give
that
you
I'm getting to really quick, that I'm pointing to really quick. We did all of the things that you have. I talked about bears earlier. I was being facetious a little bit, but it's actually true. This place that we live in, well, me, you too, but longer ago, this place that I live in right now was not a safe place to live up until very recently in history
Yeah.
because it was replete with bears and
Well,
other predators like large wolves and things. You know
right.
who got rid of those? Men did. You know
Yeah.
why? Because we didn't want them to eat you.
Well,
That's why.
European men particularly.
Yes.
But of course the reason why is because the Younger Dryas event, which I'm starting to wonder if that happened a lot more recent than we think.
Uh-oh.
It wiped out all the megafauna, dude. The only things
Yes.
that survived were like the bears and the wolves,
The
right?
predators. Yep.
And they were
Eating
just
the other things.
unchecked, right?
But my point is, one of the things that we've done, that man has done, especially in the West, the Western man, I would say, is the best about this. The Eastern man, a little bit, but the Western man, definitely. We've built our civilization, our society for you,
Yeah.
women, females. I'm talking to the females.
Of
It was
course,
for
it's what
you.
men
It
do.
wasn't for us. We would all be happy living in caves talking about titties and ass all day and
Hell
killing
yeah.
bears and eating them and shit. That'd be a
Mm-hmm.
great time.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some of that. No,
bear
we don't build
jerky.
all these things. Oh, it'd be delicious.
It
We
is
don't
good.
build. Imagine your testosterone levels. You're eating bear. Come on now. We didn't do all these things for us. We did it for you.
Of
And
course.
we're going to
And
keep
that's
doing it for you.
forever
And
human
we're
history.
never going to ask you to thank us either. But what we
No.
will ask you for is to not pretend that it isn't the case. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
Yeah.
Just understand that we did this for you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
That's all we want.
there is a major issue with humans. Would you like me to give you an example of irony?
Let's hear it.
Now, people use that word incorrectly all the time, but I'll give you a true ironic statement here. Humanity's greatest strength is also our greatest weakness,
Mhm.
right? And the greatest strength we have, a lot of people don't think about this, but it's our ability to adapt.
Yep.
We can adapt to anything. The most ridiculously horrible conditions, we can adapt to it.
Superpower.
It's a superpower, but it's
Mhm.
also what keeps us from progressing,
Yep.
right? It's always gets in the way of us because we become complacent. This is why you have people like the founders wrote down for everyone to see and made sure it was extremely public that every now and then you need a little bit of revolution, right?
Yes.
Because they understood that humans become complacent because it is our
Mhm.
nature to adapt and to figure
Stagnate.
out how to live in it, right?
Yep.
The Soviet Union lasted in a horrible condition for a long time. We know now, after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, that they were never a threat. They were
No.
never a threat. America could have wiped them out anytime we wanted. Matter of fact, Patton was right. Patton was fucking right.
About everything.
Yeah. And of course, they put him out to pasture, didn't they?
They sure did.
But
No, Chester, it was a perfectly reasonable car accident. What do you mean?
yeah, okay. But but I mean, it's this. But the Soviet people, um, they adapted to horrible situations, bread lines and squalor, and of course, Bernie Sanders thinks that's a good thing. I never understood that statement from Bernie. But they adapt and they learn to live. Look at North Korea, right? The people continue, they persist. They live in
Right.
horrible conditions. And like I said, our greatest strength to adapt to any situation is also our weakness because we have adapted to it. Therefore, we become used to it and we allow oppression. And this will always be true. It'll always be true,
Right.
right? It is what it is. But go from one idiot harpy to another.
What idiot? I got my Discord had a fit. There we go. Oh yeah, Miss Larson. Brie Larson unveils shocking buzz cut look. What's shocking about it? She cut her hair off. There's millions of women who do this
Yeah.
every year,
Now
all the
you
time.
you
There's
might think
no
this
shock
is in
factor.
relation to the blue bracelet TDS people. It's not.
Well,
Yeah, but
she's also self-hating, but yeah.
yeah, she is self-hating, but it's more stupid than you think. Would you like to
Oh
see
God.
why she did this? This is crazy. This is for all you
Let's see it.
comic book boys out there. You're going to be shocked at why. Okay, the
Let's see.
reason she did because she's been having trouble finding work. That's what happens when you
Uh-huh.
become ultra bitch, right? But she found work. She's now in a London play. Oh,
Oh
I
Lord.
don't think that pays very well.
Not as well as movie roles for
No,
Marvel, for Disney, the biggest
no, certainly
entertainment
not.
company in the world. No.
But would you like to guess with this haircut? Because this is for the play, right? What
God,
character is she playing? God,
I don't. I don't. I
just
don't.
guess for me because it's
I
fun.
no. No.
Yeah,
Mm-mm,
yeah, no,
mm-mm.
Joan of
Is this
Arc.
Shakespeare play?
No, I mean it could be right. Maybe right. No, do you think she can pull off Shakespeare in a country where
No.
thespianism is a thing? No. I'll show you
No.
what it is. You
God
ready?
no.
Are you ready? Ready? Here we go.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're looking manly there. Uh, Boom.
Oh no.
Brie Larson is
Oh
Electra.
no.
Now,
In 2025, huh?
so in London, we have a play, a theater play about Electra, meaning Marvel comic books Electra, right?
Yeah.
And Brie Larson's playing. Now, if I'm not incorrect, I do believe she's Brazilian. or something
Electra?
like that. Electra.
I believe you're correct. Let's
Yeah,
check.
she ain't a white girl, that's for sure. She's swarthy, you know. Uh, go check, see where Electra's from. I'm pretty sure she's Brazilian. She's the daughter of a mob, a cartel boss, right?
Yep.
And Daddy gets killed, and she goes on the warpath, right? Whilst he checks that, let's take a look and see what the comic book, Marvel comic book, Elektra looks like, shall we? This is a classic one. Yep. Not a white girl. More importantly, a lot of hair.
Quite a lot of hair.
Quite
Yeah.
a bit of hair. Quite a
Quite
bit.
a lot of hair.
Is she Greek? Raythula says.
She is Greek.
Okay.
Yes, he
Well, I
is
know
correct.
she's swarthy. She's not a
Yeah.
white girl, right?
She's of the dark complexions.
She is, and sexy as hell.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of hair. This is a more
I will
classic
say the
Electra.
Sai is a very sexy weapon. The
It can
Sai.
be.
It's
It
very
can be. It's
yeah.
it's phallic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
also, largely useless, but
yeah, but you know what the Sai is for? It's a Japanese weapon, actually. It's not a
yes.
Chinese one. It's a Japanese one. Do you know what it's for?
Isn't it for catching swords? Know what it's for?
Well, it certainly can have that effect. It certainly was updated. The
Mhm.
standard version of the Sai doesn't have the prongs, though. It's
Mm.
just a metal rod, right?
So
They
for
do have this
stabbing?
version as well. Nope,
Mm,
it's not even.
okay.
The movies and stuff always make them sharp. They're actually rounded and dull.
Well, what the hell is the point of it then? Just to hit things? Hit
Police,
people with them?
police.
Oh, so it's like a baton.
It
I
is.
gotcha.
Yes. It
I
was the
gotcha.
tool that the police carried in Edo time Japan. Of course, they don't want to kill the population. They just want to discourage them by cracking
Just
the head with a metal bar.
rough them
Um,
up a bit.
rough them up a bit. So this is now the pronged version of it. Certainly is about sword catching, but that would be probably more war oriented. I don't know, so don't quote me on that. But the
Mm,
standard one here in Japan is actually a metal rod that's blunted on the top with a little squared rectangle hook coming out of the side, right? A little
mhm.
teeny one, right? But it's for police. That's what it's for, right? However, even when the modern Elektra, who's now Daredevil, which fuck you. But
Yeah.
uh, do you notice something? A trend here with Elektra?
She has lots of hair.
Lots of hair. It's kind of a thing
Yeah.
with her. It's always, she's a hairy. She's a hairy
Mhm.
Greek. Yeah, yeah.
They do
Uh,
have lots of hair, the
I
Greeks.
guess
They're
I was
hairy
thinking
people.
Bane was Brazilian. Maybe that's what got in my head. I know she's a swarthy. She's not American. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, she's got a lot of hair. It's always been a thing with her hair, her flowing hair, and her red costume. Now, what?
Chester, my friend. I
Yeah.
believe the play that they're doing, I think anyway, they did change the C to a K, is supposed to be the one by Sophocles. Uh, but I don't know why they would change the C to a K when that means Marvel's Elektra and has for, 50 years or so since
Oh,
she's been created.
they might be trying to be clever, but if you look in the bio here, it's talking about her dad was killed, her mafia dad or cartel dad was killed, and she's on revenge, which is comic book
Oh.
Elektra's story, right?
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
true. Yeah, I
so
see it.
see, Elektra, haunted by her father's assassination, consumed by grief, a need for survival, and a thirst for revenge. When her long lost brother arrests Tiger, right? As Lash returns, she urges him
Yep.
to a savage and terrifying conclusion, but at what cost? So what they're doing is taking Marvel's Elektra and mixing it with Sophocles. All right.
Oh Lord,
They're trying to be clever, British, typical British. But
fucking
yeah, it's
Brits.
not really gonna catch, this. Yeah, alrighty. But good for her. She's got work, and let
She's
the
gonna make
British have her.
so much money,
I hope
so
it. I
much.
hope it runs for decades, and we never have to see her again. I hope it
Oh
becomes
god,
a huge West End thing, and she's just in London forever, with
that's
all
just
the
who she
other.
is now.
Yeah, maybe that would be great. And she can go stay with all the other Diddy disenfranchised leavers of America.
Mhm.
Yep, yep, yep.
Mhm.
But boy, how the mighty have fallen.
She went from being what was supposed to be, if you remember, Chester, do you remember
The new
Mr.
face.
Feige
Yeah.
said she was the new face? She was their Superman.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Mm-hmm.
plan to,
Mm-hmm.
well, she's not even in the movies anymore. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the sad thing is,
Whoopsie.
if they had actually told the love story with her and Marvel, oh, my brain. Um, it's not the Shi'ar. What's he's from my brain. Someone help me. He's from the other galactic empire, not the
The,
Skrulls, the other one.
the
Um,
Kree?
the Kree, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Marvel, he's a Kree. He was sent to spy and prepare on America, scout for, not America, Earth for the Kree conquest fleet. And of course, he ended up finding humans to be quite lovely people, as the British would say, in honor of Brie Larson, who's now a British person. And he joined forces with us and fought against the Kree, of course, Ronan the Accuser, and pushed them back, which, Guardians of the Galaxy slightly suggested. And of course, he got space cancer and died. And of course, he passed his powers on to his lover he had met. Of course, Carol Danvers, working for SWORD, because they were a nascent group trying to protect Earth from all these threats, and she was put in charge of monitoring him. She was his monitor, right? And they fell in
Right.
love and had all kind of sexy, sexy times. And he passed his power on to her, thus creating, Miss Marvel. If they had told that story, that would have been epic. They kind of set it up anyway, right? It was already
Mm-hmm.
kind of there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been awesome. You would have had a great love story that you told, because it is a good love story, and you would have had an actual cool female hero.
Yep.
But
But you can't have that,
no,
Chester. You can't have that because you can't have women loving men. What?
I know it's just so
What?
wrong.
What is this? What
The,
is this?
what
Patriarchy?
just
What?
huge missed opportunity, dude. Just huge.
Oh, everything about Captain Marvel for the last 20 years has been a huge missed opportunity. It's so cringy and stupid, the fact that they tried to take this character that was largely obscure and force her to be the face of their company. Uh, just because her name's Marvel. God, that's dumb. It's just dumb. There's
Well,
not even a way, there's no other word for it than stupid.
you have
Why
seen
would you
the
do that?
level of people we're talking about, right?
Oh, just
Currently at
moron. We
Marvel,
don't like Spider-Man being the face of our brand.
why not?
He's a man
He's an
and he's white.
everyman. Yeah, but he's the everyman.
It's
He's
a
a poor
fucking
guy.
idiots.
He's a poor guy,
He's a
right?
poor guy with a wife and sometimes a kid, depending on who's writing him.
Yeah, who's
Like,
writing
what
him?
are we
Yeah.
doing here?
But I mean, the thing with it is, it shows you how stupid and broken they are. Every character in Marvel now is gay.
Yeah,
It's like, well, you're a little bit over the average there, buddy.
I think you might have
Little bit,
overcorrected.
little
Just
bit, little bit
yeah,
overcorrection. It's not like we
just
didn't
a
have gay
smidge.
characters anyway.
Plenty
We
of them.
have we have Mystique, we have North Star. I think there were a couple others too. And of course, if you look at the panoply of Marvel's characters, it's probably falls into about that 2-3% ranking, does it? There's no way you're going to tell me the Aquarian's not gay.
Isn't one of Wolverine's kids gay?
Yeah, but that's during the woke period, though, that all
Yeah.
happened. Of course, Wolverine is now suggested to be gay too, right?
Of course, because of
Um,
course, yeah. Clearly, he's clearly a
yeah,
homosexual. Clearly, God.
obviously, yeah, not a horn dog at all. But
No. Mm-mm.
anyway, I just thought that was pretty funny. And of course, back to back. This is little girl. That's your future.
Yeah,
Look
if you're
at it.
lucky, you
Stare
might.
it in the face.
Her
Look at it.
future might involve more of that face if she's not
Oh
doesn't
God,
keep her head down here.
yeah. Yeah. Well, something very interesting. Before I go to the next article, let me talk about this since we are talking about the Middle East and China. Now, do keep in mind with the Middle East, they have those Muslims have themselves a little bit of an out. You see, if you're not a Muslim, then you're considered subhuman, and therefore you could do anything you want with them. Of course, you can lie in Islam to confuse and
Infidels.
befuddle the infidels, right?
That's
And of
right.
course, in all those big money places in the Middle East, they bring whores in by the frickin' airplane load, dude, and
Yes.
do horrible, nasty things to them. They're not very devout, you ask me.
No.
Yeah,
No, they seem to like women a
yeah.
lot,
Now in China,
especially blondes.
oh yeah, they like them blondes, but everyone does. That's a trophy, you see, and you get all these
Hmm.
stupid blondes that are just giving up their twats to whatever non-white dude they can find. Good for you,
Yep.
ladies. Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
You're worth
Um,
nothing now.
yeah. What's this girl that wants to sleep with 1,000 guys in 24 hours to break the record? You will never be married.
Well, she might be, but it'll be somebody she hates.
No,
So good luck
dude.
with that.
What dude is going to put himself
Listen,
down
there
to
are
do that?
men who married porn stars, Chester. So
You can't prove that to me. Anyway, in China, there is all kinds of contradiction, of course.
Mhm.
But here, let me give you an example of one contradiction, right? Um, Prostitution is illegal in China. It's against the people. Okay. Now,
Mhm.
there's a city down near Shanghai and, of course, Hong Kong called Guangdong. And Guangdong is basically a city of repute, ill repute, right? Prostitution, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And of course, the government looks a blind eye to it because a lot of the before they screwed it up, and of course, you get a lot of people complaining about Xi Jinping's lack of forethought because a lot of these richer Hong Kong guys would take a little ferry over to Guangdong and they go get their dick wet, right? And of course, dropping money in China. Right now, that's not happening because they destroyed the Hong Kong economy. Right, but Guangdong is a contradiction to the rule and statements of the communists. Right now, everything is illegal. You can't watch Twitter, you can't do Instagram, you can't do any of these things in China. Right? They're completely banned. They'll sell and push DEI on you all day long, but it's not legal in China. However,
That's right.
something very interesting happened the other day.
Uh-oh.
And one of the things they did was all of a sudden now on their Weibo, which is their Facebook, Twitter thing, right? You can now access, and of course their internet, OnlyFans. Now that was shut down, blocked in China, completely illegal. You can't do that. You can't watch pornography in China. You're not allowed. You go get a prostitute, I guess, but I suppose that helps the economy when you think about it in the big picture. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, all of a sudden, OnlyFans became available. Now the government's not being so forward about it, but there are lots of little movings going on with all these little commissars basically going to enslave and create sex slaves out of Chinese girls. Is what's going to happen. It's horrible.
Mhm.
But that's
Mhm.
China, right? But the question that's not the point. That's a different conversation. The question is why? Why all of a sudden did the CCP allow OnlyFans to be a thing in China? Would you like to guess the exact day that they did this? Was exactly the one day later, one day after the OnlyFans number one girl came out and released her financials. $43 million
Yep.
annual she was making. Now, most of those girls only make about 150 a month, which is shit. But a couple of them
Yeah.
bang. I don't know what OnlyFans is. I don't get these idiots throwing money, especially because you have to dodge porn on the internet everywhere. But whatever.
Free, completely for free, by the way, including every one of these girls, especially the big ones. You can get all of their stuff for free.
I'm
You don't have
sure.
to pay them a cent.
I don't even I assumed that. I don't even have
Yeah.
to bother researching it. But here's the thing though. The next day, China makes OnlyFans legal.
Well, yeah, they want that money.
They want some of that money. Isn't that
They want
interesting?
in.
Isn't that interesting?
And here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. They're probably going to take over
They might.
because I'm going to tell you a little secret about white men. they like Asian men or Asian men. They like Asian. Well, some of them like Asian men. They like Asian women a lot, and China's got a lot of them.
Yep.
So they only have to find 20, 30,000 really pretty ones, and they can flood that lane real hard and
And
fast,
they can find it very
and that'll be it.
easily.
Oh, easily.
I don't even know if they need much coercion, to be fair. They'll
No,
do
it's
whatever they want
yeah,
to do, though. But
yeah.
the simple fact of the matter is, if you're actually looking for a wife, you can go find a girl who's 26 because 25 is the wall in China,
Mhm.
in Asia in general. 25 is the wall. So if you're a 26-year-old girl and you ain't married yet or planning to get married, you're over the hill. They don't want nothing to do with you. It's radical how rabid they are in that regard. That is a hard stop number, right?
Hmm.
So there's a lot of 26, 28, 29, 30-year-old girls who will never get married by a Chinese man. So you pick them up. Now, keep in mind, Chinese girls are the most noisy, and well, the Koreans are pretty bad too. They're
Mhm.
troublesome, right? Where it's much easier to go down to Indonesia, Philippines. Philippines are great women, right?
Mhm.
Thailand, even Vietnam, and you can find modern women who live in a democracy, who have all the kind of there. They got Pizza Hut. Did you know there's a
Yep.
Pizza Hut right in front of the pyramids? Bet you didn't. But anyway, modern girls with classical traditional values. So if you're one of those passport bros, which is ironic, I guess I became one. I don't know.
You are one. Yeah.
I guess. I
Whether
mean,
you meant to
it
be or
wasn't
not.
my intention. She trapped me. But
Yep.
nevertheless, I'd say Thailand or one of those other places would probably be a better choice for you because you're going to get a much kinder, gentler girl. The Chinese ladies are a bit rough, right? They're a
Mhm.
bit rough. But I'm not saying it can't be done. But yeah, it is an issue in China for sure. But of course, don't go anywhere near China right now because that's suicide. Even the CEO of major companies that they're desperate to keep are getting arrested and accused of espionage and being harassed by these
Mhm.
local commissars trying to get money out of shit. Basically, wanting ransom for these guys, and that's one of the problems. Beijing, which is the center of it, right? They've lost control, dude. These
Yep.
commissars all over the country, and there's thousands of them, right? They've lost complete control over these people, and they're just doing whatever the hell they want because why should they listen? The police are not getting paid by the CCP. The military is
Right.
not getting paid. They haven't paid them in months and months, like almost coming on a year now. So where these guys get money? They basically have become little private armies for these little commissars that are desperately trying to steal and get money any way they can. That's what's happening. I mean, you might well see China turn into a series of 1,000 warlords across the country. It could become like that, like say Haiti, right,
Yep.
or an
Yep.
African country.
Well, and the crazy thing is it's sadly might be for the best because the CCP, the yoke of the CCP is just too heavy,
It
and it
is.
needs to be
It is.
shed for the Chinese people to have any chance at decent life, basically.
Right.
Uh, and I think it might. I genuinely think unless something radical happens in China very quickly, as far as for the CCP, I think that the people saying 10 years, maybe 15 if they're lucky, are probably correct. They're just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to survive.
But to change the culture of China is going to take a century or two because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
even before Mao Zedong's actions and the Red Revolution, China already had a lot of problems going back a long time
Hmm.
culturally. If you're not family, you can die in front of them and they will not lift a finger for you. This is cultural. Now, are there good people in China? Of course there are. But
Right.
it's been compounded these days by if you dare to help anybody, you're going to get sued. So no one messes with it. This is why you see people dying on the side of the street and then literally stepping over bodies, or someone hits someone by accident with a car and then backs up and runs them over to make sure they're dead because it's cheaper.
Hmm.
The penalty is cheaper. That's why they do that. That's why you see those videos of them literally backing over children
Yep.
is because it's cheaper. They've become so mercurial. It's unbelievable. So you're not gonna even if we can get rid of the CCP, you're not fixing China's woes overnight. Ain't happening, dude. Ain't
No,
happening.
no, no. It takes
Um,
years to solve a lot of these problems. Decades, centuries, sometimes
yeah,
even.
I think. Well, let's move on to something that might be stupid.
Uh-oh. Might be stupid or is stupid.
Who knows?
52nd annual Saturn
Uh-huh,
Awards
uh-huh, uh-huh.
nominees. Dune Part 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, and Fallout lead the pack. Now I've seen all of these.
I didn't even know
I
Dune
did
2
I
was out.
Yeah, you did. I told you it was out. I told you it's
I
actually
I
okay,
chose to
minus
I chose to not
minus
listen.
Zendaya's constant nasal flaring at the camera. Other than that, it's pretty good. He actually Timothy Chalamet actually does a really good job becoming Paul in the second one.
Actually, it's Chalamet.
Whatever. Listen,
Mhm.
it's a made up name. His name's Tim. Tim probably something Jewish, if we're being honest. Um, but it's a good movie. He's the best part of it, and which is good since he's the main character. Um, Deadpool Wolverine obviously is really good, really fun, and I actually like the Fallout show. I didn't think I would. I don't like what they're doing with the lore, how fast and loose they're playing with it, but um, she wasn't as annoying as I thought she would be. She does have the largest eyes I've ever seen on a human person. It's very creepy.
Alien.
Uh, and the our boy playing the ghoul is just so much fun. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but he's so much
The
fun.
guy who's in Justified, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's just great. He's just everything he's in. He's great. He's one of those guys. He's one of those actors who is just massively underappreciated. Because every role I've ever seen him take, he just kills it. He just kills it.
hmm
Anyway, what do we got here? What's going on here?
hmm Chalamet, by the way, just means the person who's in charge of the chalet, which is a noble name. It's
Mhm.
probably goes back to the Merovingians. Anyway, etymology. So let's
This
take a
guy.
look and see what we got here. So leading nominees by studio, Warner Brothers has taken the cake here. Interesting.
Hmm.
And Disney
It
has
is
been
interesting.
nominated as well. So top film contenders. There's what do we got? Five? There's usually five, right? So we got 14 nominations going to Dune. Okay, they like it. 17 was Lord of the Rings, right? So it's pretty close.
Hmm.
Beetlejuice, 13 nominations. Deadpool and Wolverine, 10. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, didn't even know that was still going on, 8. And Alien Romulus, 5. Why? It was a complete bomb of a movie. Why is it even here? At least the other ones probably made some money. Alien
Yep.
Romulus was a complete and utter disaster. Huh.
Yep.
Top television contenders. Amazon, Disney, Lucas, of course, of course, of course. Agatha All Along. Another complete bomb. The Penguin. I guarantee you, Agatha takes it all. Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
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 for sure.
yeah.
But it
Uh,
should be the Penguin.
it should be
From good too,
from
though,
your
man. I'm
thing.
telling you, you need to give it another shot. The problem you're gonna have though is there is a lot more. Oh, I don't want to say a lot more, but the lesbian girl. Let's just say there's more lesbian stuff that happens, but it's a complete side thing that's largely immaterial, except for
No,
it helps build one of the characters.
you ain't tricking
Um,
me, dude.
But I'm telling you,
I know.
we
No.
just had the season 3 finale, and they answer a whole lot of questions.
See? You see what
They
he's
answered a
doing?
whole lot.
He ain't tricking me.
I'm telling you, it's good.
I don't
And
care.
our boy Boyd is great.
He is
He's
great. I
just
do like him.
great.
I just don't have any interest in all the lesbians. Okay.
There's only
Thank you.
two in the whole thing.
No, there is many lesbians, dude. It's
Yes,
not
but there's
just
only
two.
two where it's like a real situation. It's not just random encounters or whatever,
You
and then
got
it's never mentioned
you got
again.
the silly Asian deputy who's in love with a lesbian. You have the
That's
lady
right.
in charge of the house who's a lesbian. You have the lesbian black girl you're talking about. You have the other girl who's supposed to be our protagonist lesbian. You have her lover
Wait, which
lesbian.
girl? Wait,
There
who?
are a lot of lesbians in that show, dude.
Wait, protagonist is a lesbian. We talk about the young girl, the
The young
teenager?
girl.
No, she's not. That was just one
Uh huh.
scene.
Uh
It never gets brought up again.
huh.
I'm
Yep.
telling you, comes a boy comes along and she starts flirting with him and get real
Alrighty,
friendly with
fine.
him.
And then she
And
gets
and
knocked up by an
and
old ghost man. Anyway, House of the Dragon. Nice.
Wait. The girl that she was trying to get to kiss her or whatever she said ends up married. So
Well,
to a
she
guy.
was already involved anyway. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just for fun. Huh? What? Open relationships in an
Yes.
absolute desperate situation where people are fighting for survival on a daily basis, and you give a shit about your modern fucking political sexuality? What is wrong with you? It's like The Last of Us. People are desperately, the human race is on its knees. Everyone needs to be making babies, but no, 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 we're gonna make time for fucking lesbians.
Yes.
Really, really. Really, if you're in a modern situation where there's plenty as we live in now, you can have all the homosexuals you like, but
Mhm.
in desperate times require desperate measures.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on. Best genre comedy TV series. Oh, I wonder what's in here. Chucky, people like that. Ghosts, never
No,
seen it. What We Do in the
never heard.
Shadows.
There we go.
It's
Now we're
fun. It
talking.
it gets a little
Now we're
boring
talking.
though.
It does get a little boring. It does because they've kind of done it, and now
Yeah,
they're just doing it to do it.
just
But it
yeah.
still does have some
It
serious
has some great
yucks. You get it.
moments. It
You
does.
get some yucks.
Hmm. You do get some yucks, and of course, this is what David Coleman's really best at. So,
Yeah.
but let's see here, where to watch. All right, so that's all I got. So there's not a lot going on here.
If
Um,
okay, so on this list that we have right here, right, we have TV highlights.
yeah,
Penguin should win everything. I don't even
yep,
think that's debatable.
yep,
I don't even think it's debatable.
yeah.
Penguin should win everything. What
Telling you,
else we got?
Agatha's going to get all of it.
Best comedy series of the ones on there, I would say Shadows because it's just funny.
Sure.
Go back up real quick. What do we have up here? We have Romulus, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I didn't see Kingdom of the. Well, yeah, no, I did see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's pretty good. Um, Deadpool, Wolverine, Dune Part 2. Um, that's a tough one. Beetlejuice was garbage. I don't know why we're pretending like it wasn't. It was. The first Beetlejuice is garbage. Again, it's one of these weird nostalgia things where people act like it's good. It's not.
Yeah,
It
you
was
either
never
like it or
good.
you don't like it. I mean,
Uh,
it is what it is.
which means it's not good.
That's
Period.
fine.
If it has that line of a delineation, then most of the time it just means it's not a
It's
good
a
thing.
guilty pleasure.
It's a niche.
Yeah, it
And that's
is.
fine.
It
Everybody's
is a
allowed their
niche.
niches, but let's not pretend. Um, Dune Part 2 and Deadpool Wolverine are probably going to be the ones who walk away with any kind of victories here. I'd imagine Dennis is going to win Best Director for Dune 2 just because this competition's kind of shit. So, uh, Best Film Actor, maybe Tim, probably Chalamet out of this combination here. But as far as the other ones, I would say Wolverine's probably going to take most of the rest of it, Deadpool and Wolverine, because it's just it's the one that's
Fun.
probably going to be it's fun and it's going to be remembered longer. As much as I want as much as I want the Dune series to be this grand Lord of the Rings type trilogy that they're making, it's not. It's just not. It won't be remembered in 20 years, or it will by like hyper nerds. It won't be remembered like the Lord of the Rings trilogy is as one of the greatest cinematic accomplishments of all time. It just won't, and it just is what it is. Uh, I like the director obviously, and I do think he'll probably win that. And I think Mr. Frenchman. I don't like that he's French, but I will have to say he does a very good job as Paul. He really comes into the character. He gains the necessary audacity to be a character like that you have to have. He accepts the fact that he, at least to these people, and then starts to accept it in himself that he is this Christ-like figure, this Christ
Right.
figure,
Right.
and that's a good thing. That's what Paul should do because that's what Paul does.
Timothée Chalamet. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a real name.
he's
Um, yeah.
Frenchman.
Yes, yes. Ray Thule says Chester refused your Yuri bait. Yuri. Is
Yuri.
that the Slavic Yuri or the Japanese Yuri?
I think he means the Japanese. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Yuri is like means like an
Beatles suck.
effeminate
Beatles.
boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
No,
Anyway,
I honestly do think From is pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and say it's it's anywhere near the close to the Penguin. Let's not get crazy. But it's pretty good. It's a good mystery situation that they've because they're not going to make one all pretty much all next year. I guess it's not coming back till 2026. So they had to answer some questions, and they did. They answered a whole bunch of questions at the end of season
Yeah.
3.
Now, it's interesting here. The Boys is nominated, as is
Yep.
Fallout, but they're not actually notable. Interesting.
Which is curious. Which the boys shouldn't be nominated. It's garbage. Fallout
It's
was pretty good
complete
though.
betrayal, is what it is.
Yeah.
Fallout, I no, I just don't need another female protagonist, even though she's cute. So
She's
anyway,
cute.
let's go take a look at our box office here. Let's see what we're looking at. So let's see how the weekend was. All right, so Moana 2 is needs $1 billion, so it's going to lose money.
Yeah, they got to get moving if it's going to get there. Which it might. We still got Christmas, and people do go watch movies on Christmas, so
Yeah,
maybe,
but
but I doubt it.
everybody's saying that it's just not a good script.
It
It's just
just
not a good
shouldn't
movie.
exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's why did we
Um,
do this?
Wicked, people seem to be enjoying it, even though it's super lesbian woke movie. But okay. So was
There's
Barbie.
no lesbianism, Chester. They don't. They're friends.
Uh huh.
God.
Okay, doke. But let's see here. That's not going to make money. That's nowhere near making money.
Yeah.
Gladiator 2, why? That's a
Again,
huge loss of money.
we're batting 2 for 3 here of why did this get made? Well,
Yeah,
really, Wicked. At least Wicked was it's a popular play, so I get why they made it. But why the hell would you make a second
yeah,
Moana or Gladiator, and then not come with like the best thing you've ever, especially
right.
Gladiator, come
Yeah.
with the best script you've ever seen if you're gonna
Paramount
do
is
that.
hemorrhaging money, dude.
Yeah.
As is Disney, but it didn't seem to bother nobody. Push Ups, The Rule, Part 2. Push Pa.
Uh,
Oh, that must be Indian.
push Pushpa?
Yeah, I know it
Yeah.
must be Indian. Yeah. Um,
Sandalwood smuggling business. Okay.
okay,
Okay.
sweet.
That's a business? You can
All right.
smuggle
Well,
sandalwood?
it's a
All
new
right.
movie. I'm just clicking on new movies. It made some money. It might actually be profitable if it's coming out of India.
Right.
Interstellar's re-release, $4 million. So that's all profit, right?
Yep. And I don't know why I didn't like that movie. I think it's very overrated. But
Solo
that's just me.
Leveling, 2 million, 2.5 million. This
It's an
is an
anime.
anime.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All
I hear
right.
it's really good. I've never
It
seen it
looks
though.
like it's created by Koreans though. Y2K, the one we were talking about earlier. Oof. Now they said they only spent 15 million, so you can assume it's about a $20 million altogether.
It's
Um,
only in about half the theaters in the country, so
Still,
yeah.
it's only got $1 million in pocket. Needs to make 20 to break even.
Got a long hill to climb.
Yeah, yeah,
Long hill to climb.
yeah. Not good. Let's see here. We got a lot of new ones though. This is a big week for new stuff. For King and Country, A Drummer Boy Christmas
Wow.
made more money than
Oh
Ray.
my, in less theaters. In less theaters.
Wow. Da, da, da,
Wow.
da, 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 da.
That's
That
crazy, and
is
it's just
crazy.
people. It's just a little drummer boy but on the screen. That's all it is.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just
just a
playing a
little
little
drummer
drummer
boy.
boy. Oh
Yeah,
no!
yeah.
Oh no! Hey, there's that werewolves movie. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, we gotta check. I gotta check that out. But that's bombing hard.
Yeah,
It's got our boy in it too.
it's only in 1,300 theaters. It's not, it's not making any money.
Give it time, I suppose. This is one of Mike Rowe, but I doubt they spent much money on it.
This is one that'll end up getting on streaming for a decent deal, and they'll probably make their money back.
Yeah,
That's probably what'll happen. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it simply because it's got Frank Grillo, and I love Frank Grillo.
yeah.
Um,
And
but
Werewolf Apocalypse is an interesting idea. I don't think that's ever been. If it has, I've
yeah,
never heard of it
it's
being done before.
different. I like it. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. But it could be a shit movie. I mean, who knows? But we got The Order here. And series of bank robberies. Okay, so it's an FBI. Boy, it didn't do well.
Ooh,
Direct to video. Okay.
look
Uh,
at Venom. Look at Venom right there.
yeah, yeah. Not making
Boy,
money.
did they boy did they lose their ass. Oh my god.
Yeah. We got like a music thing here, just like a symphony of some kind. RM, right people, wrong place. This didn't make money.
What the fuck is this?
That was a documentary about BTS, whatever
Oh,
I think that's the Korean band, right?
it's the Korean band, yeah.
The Return. Who returned? Oh, Odysseus. Oh
Odysseus.
no, this is doesn't this have William Defoe in it?
I don't know.
No, this
Does it?
one's got William Defoe in it. And I saw the trailer. I was like, interesting. I actually thought it looked good. Of course, it's got William in it, but boy, it didn't make money though.
How, Chester, in the age of this great technology, how has nobody made the Iliad and the Odyssey? Just make that story. Just
Yeah,
straight up adapt it to a you could make a 4-part series out of that easily.
yeah.
Just straight do it.
And go
That'd be
Clash
great.
of the Titans with it. Involve the gods, as it
Yep.
says in the story.
Yep.
Just go full on.
It'd be
But
great.
yeah, I will be checking that out, and that's Bleecker Street too. Which of course they do more artsy films, but it's got William Defoe in it, dude.
Yep.
Standing on the Shoulders, of course, the real William Defoe movie we're waiting for is coming soon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Standing on the Shoulders of Kitties. What kind of kitties?
The shit rockers. Um, what? Who made this? Why did they make it?
I don't know. Getaway. This really did bad. Family
Oh,
vacation to a remote getaway takes an unexpected turn when they discover the island they're on is inhabited by a serial killer. A horror movie. All right. A little bit out of season, but okay. Oh, Canada. Where's this maple syrup guy?
he's there. I see him. He agrees down with the French. See,
Yeah.
he's a reasonable Canadian.
Now this one's talking about people dodging the draft by moving to Canada. Yeah.
Okay. Listen, I don't hate him. I wouldn't want to fight in this government's wars either.
Yeah, well, yeah. I agree. Down with the French. Quebecois. Okay. The
Take
end.
Canada, liberate Quebec. That's the move.
There we go.
Take Canada,
Yeah,
liberate Quebec.
yeah. Living in salt mine encounters a stranger. Okay, sweet. That really did poorly. Only in 3 theaters, though, and 2 theaters,
Yep.
making $11,488, and of course that's not all profit. The Girl with the
Mm-mm.
Needle. Okay, Copenhagen, 1919. A young worker finds herself unemployed and pregnant. She meets Dagmar. It's a good name. Who runs an underground adoption agency. A strong connection grows, but her world shatters when she stumbles on the shocking truth behind her work. Dun dun dun.
Dum-ba-da-da.
Okay, you're a murderer. Okay. Anyway, yeah, nothing interesting really, other than the
So,
return. I do want to see that.
well,
And
and
werewolves.
werewolves.
And werewolves, yeah.
Go back down to Venom.
Yeah.
How long has Venom been out? It's not even been out a month or 2 months yet, right? 7 weeks, I think it said.
44 days.
44 days. Wow. So worldwide, they got 472 million, but we know they don't even really get anywhere near that. To bring home,
Yeah,
they
just
have
cut it in
definitely
half. Just cut
lost.
it in half.
They've definitely lost money on this
Oh, they
movie.
definitely lost
100%.
money. Although this is closer than some of the other ones we were talking about,
Yeah.
because this is nowhere near the budget. Matter of fact, they could be around break even, to be honest. But
Here's how they break it even for sure is they'll put it out on the streaming services and make their money back. But it's just, man, there's just nothing out there. There's nothing to see unless you want to watch terrible Wizard of Oz parody, or you want to watch a movie like Moana 2 that just simply should not exist. It wasn't necessary. You did it.
yeah,
You got it one and done. What are we doing?
see, Venom, Last Stand,
Last Dance.
Last Dance.
Yep.
Oh, that's gay. Um,
Well, yeah, they're gay lovers, so
they are, and how creepy that is. Production costs, production budget. Let's go with budget. Okay. What are we looking at here? What are we looking
they're
at?
claiming like 120 million is what they
120
said.
million. So if that's true, then they have made their. Of course, you gotta double that. for
Mhm.
advertisement, and there was quite a bit. Even over here, I saw quite a bit of advertisement for it. So therefore, they're in the doghouse. Worldwide, no, I'd say they're just breaking even. So
They
cool.
just made it.
They just made it. Yeah,
Just made it.
yeah. They're just breaking even.
Alright. But
So
that's not good on a 3rd movie, man. 3rd movie should make a ton of
no,
money. Look at the
but
old Spider-Man movies. The
yeah.
Tobey Maguire ones. The 3rd one made the most, and it was shit, but it still
And
made
it
the most
was
money.
bad, yeah. But yeah, no, of course, in streaming services, Blu-rays, and all that kind of aftermarket stuff, they will make a profit on this movie, though.
You know what else is coming out, Chester, that
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
excited for
Yeah.
because I'm a big nerd? Sonic 3
Oh, right, right. The
on the
Knuckles and
20th.
Tails get it on. Is that one?
No, it's Shadows coming, and Keanu Reeves' voice in Shadow,
Oh
which I
no, I
think is
saw the
pretty a
trailer. That's
pretty
right. We watched
pretty
it.
good idea. Pretty good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I like the Sonic movies. They are what they are. They're not trying to be anything that they're not, and that's what I appreciate.
and
It's
good
kinda like the
on.
King Kong movies. I know what I'm getting. I'm getting
Right.
monsters fighting monsters.
Yeah,
Alright, let's do it.
and it's fun. And of course, they listen. The Sonic guys listened to the public and made a change, and good for them.
And they
Um,
deserve this success.
yeah. But
Eh,
honestly, I'm
eh,
with Alan. Nosferatu opens December 24th.
yep.
And we're
Our boy, Mr. Miracle's really excited about that too. He's big.
hmm Well, here's the
Really looking
thing.
forward to it.
Here's the thing. Um the embargo for those, critics who were able to see it early was up a few days ago. So they're so confident with this movie that nearly a month ahead of time they're letting the critics talk about it, right?
Yep.
That tells you a lot. And if you go listen to the critics, of course, there's a lot of love for it and many, many levels. Of course, some of the negative comments are, well, it's avant garde. Well, it's Robert Eggers. Of course, it's
Right.
avant garde,
And
right?
it's a Nosferatu movie.
Yeah. But
What'd you think it was gonna be?
And of course, unfortunately, because of that, now we know who's playing Nosferatu, and I'm very curious to see because they said you can't see him in it. I'm not going to give a spoiler on who it is. You can look it up if you want, but you can't see him at all. And one of the consistent positive reviews I've seen on this movie is the absolute dread and terror of Nosferatu himself, of
Mm,
Count Orlok, is palpable,
interesting.
which is the success, right? That's what you're trying to do. So, I mean, it's just the overall feel and the absolute terror of Count Orlok. And this is one of the problems we get with modern vampires. They're not scary anymore, right?
No.
And a lot of them were comparing this to the Bram Stoker movie that came out from who made that one? Yeah, the one with Keanu
Uh,
acting very badly with a horrible British accent half the time.
I'm trying to
Um,
remember.
but it's got Gary Oldman in it, absolutely just killing it, right?
Right.
But it's like if you're a huge, they're saying if you're a huge, huge fan of that, you're probably not going to be into this because it's basically Bram Stoker's Dracula. They just didn't have the rights, right?
Right.
So they, Nosferatu, Count Orlok instead of Count Dracula. But uh, if you're a big, huge Bram Stoker fan, you're probably not going to like Nosferatu as much. But nevertheless, it's still really good. Everyone says beautifully made, and the presence of Orlok himself is everyone's going on and on and on about it. Once again, I'm not going to tell you who's playing Count Orlok, but damn, dude, I'm
Orlok.
shocked by it.
Mhm.
Francis Ford Coppola, yeah, it's okay movie. It's fine. It's mainly just Gary Oldman is the only reason why you watch it, really.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because he does kill it. But maybe I should say who's playing Count Orlok. What do you think?
Do it. Drop it.
Yeah. You know that actor guy who shows up in you know Robert Eggers movies amongst other things. He was in The Viking. Uh, Skinny, really well built Skarsgård guy. What's his name?
Um,
Can't remember his first name. Scars. He's one of the Skarsgård boys. He's the one who was in it.
Alexander?
No, he's the one in the Viking movie.
Thought it was Alexander.
Well, whatever. It's a Skarsgård, and they're a good acting family. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They're pretty good actors, actually. But people are just going on and on about how Bill. That's what it is. Bill Skarsgård. Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
just how unbelievably badass he is in this movie, and the fact that you can't see Bill at all. It's kind of like Colin Farrell. It sounds like Colin Farrell as a Penguin, because what did we say? There was like 4 moments you saw Colin throughout the
Yes.
entire 10-part series or
Something like
eight
that.
part,
Yep.
whatever it was. But yeah, so that's I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm all day for Nosferatu, dude. So
He's ready.
I am.
He's
Well,
ready.
I like Robert Eggers. I like his movie making style, and he gets
Yeah.
William Dafoe, who's underrated.
Oh, and Johnny Depp's daughter is in that movie.
He has a daughter,
Yep.
and she can actually speak.
Yep.
Really, all the drugs he
It's
did, that didn't somehow pass on to the child.
apparently not. Oh,
I
Aaron Taylor Johnson's in there.
Yeah, of
Interesting.
course. He always uses her, the creepy alien girl.
No, 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 no. You're thinking of Anna Taylor Joy.
That's what I'm
Aaron
thinking of.
Taylor Johnson, Kick Ass, the British guy from Bullet Train. That guy.
Oh, okay, okay. What was I looking up?
I don't know. What were you looking up?
Huh, I forgot. Oh
Yeah.
well, it doesn't matter.
Happens. Happens to the best of us and the worst.
Yeah, yeah. Forgot what I was going to do. Can chat help me? I doubt it. I,
I
I
genuinely don't know.
I jumped over to check something. But yeah. Anyway, so that's what I got for today. And wow, it was a busy week, dude.
Yep.
Busy week.
Crazy, crazy week. Happy December, everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the good thing for us, though, is Trump has continually been reinforcing the fact that he doesn't care about these external things.
Yep.
He wants to get America on track. That's his whole thing. He wants to get America, and in that interview he just did with that NBC lady, who was just on and on and on about it, trying to catch him. And you're gonna go after your enemies, right? You gotta have to go after your enemies, right? 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 That's all she did, right? And he just completely owned her. But one of the moments in there I thought was pretty interesting when he started talking about groceries, right? And he said, "What a word, groceries." And
Yeah.
look at how much more expensive just something as simple as groceries again. I don't
Oh,
care
bro.
about these things. I don't care about all of these revenge plots and stuff like that, because my goal is I'm going to get my revenge in making America better, to fixing the problem. And
Yep.
I'm going to focus on things like groceries. What a great answer.
Bro, listen to me. My wife and I went to the grocery store recently. We went in
Mm,
there to get something very specific, and we ended up getting a couple other things because they were there and they were on sale.
yeah,
We walked out of this grocery store, not a high-end grocery store, just a normal grocery store, with 4 bags. One, two, three, 4 bags. 4 plastic bags of stuff. And it was $86.
wow.
86. It's not, listen, we didn't buy anything. The most expensive thing in any of those bags was like 20 bucks. And it's a special kind of, because we got that big dog. So they have these like rolls of specially made food
Sure,
that we get them for like a snack, right? Just so we can just
sure.
chop off a piece of it and give it to them. And that was like 20 bucks. It's like a chicken roll. That was it. That was the most expensive thing in there. The rest of it was just, normal grocery stuff. $86. No,
Yeah,
it's a problem.
it is a
It's a
problem.
real problem.
Yeah, I give, we used to give our dog like little liver rolls. He liked
Yeah.
those.
Mhm.
But yeah, would you like to guess how much money I spend a month on groceries? And, keep in mind, I'm not restricted. I can buy whatever I want, right?
Right.
So,
Right. I know.
would you like to guess how much we spend?
Hit me with it.
$600,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, that was the number when the kids were in the house. So it's probably half that. right?
That was your
That
budget
was
number.
that though that was my budget line, and so I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's half now. So it's probably $300 to $400 a month I spend on groceries. What are you spending?
Oh God. Well, let's see. That random trip where we went to go get something specific was 86, so that was just then. Normally, if we get in and out to unless we can get really good sales, right? You're looking and this is just me and my wife, just me and her. You're looking at least $200 per trip. We'll take a trip once every week, a week and a half. So it can
Right,
be anywhere between about that 600 that you're talking about up to 800 or more, depending on what we get. We
right.
usually, but what we used to get, like when we were losing all that weight, we used to get a lot of steak. We used to get a lot of meat, and it's just priced. We got priced out of it
Yeah,
basically, unless it's on sale or on manager's clearance or something. We just got priced out of it because it's just too much money. We can't afford to be. We were there was a time we were eating either steak or chicken or something like that all the time, and multiple times a day even because it's the best way to lose weight. Spoiler: trying to lose weight in America, the best thing you can do is eat a lot of meat.
yep.
Eat as much meat as you can get and just smash it down. Don't eat red meat. Don't listen to those people. They're dumb. Just eat meat. Doesn't matter what color it is. Eat it. Uh, but anyway, so that was how we did it. But yeah, it's probably right around there. Probably right around that amount. But again, it's just me and her, and we don't buy expensive things. We buy as cheap as we can get it, or we get it when it's on sale. And if it's not like one example, I'm lactose intolerant. But it's spotty. It's only on certain things that it really hits me, like things with really
It's
high
that engine in you.
lactose. Yeah. And so cottage cheese will get me. If I have cottage cheese, it'll give me all kinds of gas and stuff, right?
I haven't had cottage cheese in decades.
But they have over here now, they have lactose-free cottage cheese. They
Oh,
take the
nice.
lactose out and it tastes great, but it's expensive.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't had that in over a year because I just can't justify it. And I miss it because it's good. I love cottage cheese. Put a little pepper in there.
I
Mm.
actually remember the last time I ate was cottage cheese with pineapple.
Yeah, you can put fruit in it too. That's one of the good things about cottage cheese. It's versatile.
Yeah.
I like peaches in it too. Throw little peaches in there.
Mhm.
Mm. It's good time.
What I like to do is getting like plain yogurt. I mean, no sugar, nothing, just straight up yogurt, right?
Yeah.
And I put berries and pistachios and a couple
Pistachios.
of prunes. It's a good time. Uh,
Prunes.
I'm old. Yeah, prunes,
Prunes.
prunes are good for you. Yep.
Yeah, but they're prunes.
Yeah, well, they're sweet. Raythu spends like 200 a month, but he produces most of it, so he's a homesteader or a farmer. Ladies, 350, 400. That might be just her though. Raythul says, I could probably feed a family of 4 to 6 from my greenhouse and raised beds. Yeah, he's a homesteader. Yeah, that's cool. No, and of course, keep in mind, throughout human history, it's like everybody had a little frickin'
Yep.
garden. Everybody, right? It's a normal thing to have a
It
garden.
was the only way you were going to get certain vegetables and fruits. It just
Yeah,
wasn't going to happen otherwise. They didn't
yeah,
have the means of distribution that we have now.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're going to see a big comeback of that. I hope
You should.
of that much more local. So even if it's not everybody, you'll see communities do it where they'll
Yeah.
have a local one that they do.
Well, I'm telling you.
It just makes sense.
You
It
get
just
back
makes
to
sense.
local focused life, you're going to have a much better world. It just is. It is. Especially,
Everybody's happier.
well, sure, but especially with all the conveniences and modernity that we have. I mean, you can really bang that out. Like with Raythula, look at some of these homesteaders, man. They're banging it out, dude.
Right.
I mean, they're really finding success. They spend less money, buy a couple of pigs, maybe one of those mini Jerseys, and you get it pretty cheap in the beginning of the year. Raise them out, slaughter them, pay for your slaughtering at the end of the year, and you got all kinds of meat at a very low cost, extremely low cost, right?
Yes.
Um, and that includes feed and time and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much cheaper. But yeah, there's homesteading is a good thing, dude. And do keep in mind, it is your right as an American to homestead.
They try to stop you in some places. They do indeed. But yes, they should not be doing that.
No,
It's evil.
It is. Homesteading is definitely a way to go. Well, a lot of them they try to put regulations like, oh, it's for safety. You have to get inspectors, and they charge you $3,000 for your inspection or what have you, right? Or whatever
Mm.
the price is. It's probably not that much. But nevertheless, anyway, thank you all for coming in. Now, just to reiterate, next week will be our last show of the year.
Yeah.
I will be back on January 12th, I guess, because you guys are on Sunday, right?
Yes.
January 12th. So I'm going to be gone 3 weeks, going to the Mediterranean. Don't know if that's a good time to be in the Mediterranean, but that's where I'm going. Um,
Mhm.
and so I will be gone for 3 weeks. Hopefully, you guys all have really good Christmases and New Year's and all that kind of fun stuff with your family. And of
Yep.
course, I'm sure when we come back on the 12th, we'll have a lot to talk about. I have a feeling.
I have a feeling things are going to pop the flip off
I have a feeling. Yeah.
because the powers that be, for some reason, are very terrified of the Orange Man, and the Orange Man cometh, Chester.
Yeah, he ain't
He's coming.
playing, dude. He
Now,
dropped dead serious.
he is
Look
locked
at his
in.
eyes, dude. He ain't playing. The funny thing is, he is doing all the presidential stuff already. Even JD Vance was like on the ground in North Carolina.
Yep.
Where's Biden? Where's Harris? Last time
Where's
I saw her, she
Kamala?
was drunk all for her ass. I mean, where
God, what a
are they,
joke,
dude?
man. What a joke that administration is. It's just deplorable. I'm going to use their word. It's deplorable what
Yeah,
they are. A joke. Utter joke. I'm
very good. All right, take us out of here.
going to do this one. I haven't done it in a while, and I actually have an addendum to it.
Mm,
Hating yourself is a low fate, a life lived dead. And then, as an addendum to it, we have this. When you feel unworthy, happiness just makes you sad.
ooh, namaste. That's a good one. That's actually a
Yeah.
good one. Later, everybody.